Company, and today we are reading the third part of Henry VI. And I'm going to be reading the Duke of York, Edward of York, and various other roles, as we will all be reading many roles because there are 50 characters who speak in this play, and we have 6 performers. So we are going to. It's all about sharing the text and having fun with it. And over to you, Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Margolis, and I'm going to read the Duke of Exeter, John Mortimer, Messenger, Watchman, Marquis de Montague, and a huntsman.
Okay, and Kitty.
Hi, I'm Kitty Chen. I'm reading Warwick and others.
Okay, and Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine Grenier. I will be reading Queen Margaret and Lady Grey.
All right, and Bernie.
Hi, I'm Bernie Kramer. I will be reading Richard, Duke of Gloucester, and other parts when they come up, if they do.
Okay, and so just and we also Ken.
I'm Ken Wayne. I'm King Henry of that name, the sixth, and George, Duke of Clarence.
Yes, and also. Sorry, Bernie, did you have a question or did you just freeze? But anyways, so just a reminder, we just sort of, when we're in the screen, we're in the scene, we have our cameras on and we're unmuted, and then we mute ourselves and turn off the video when we're not in the scene. And so this is one of Shakespeare's very first plays. We believe actually that it's possible that the second part of Henry VI may have been his first play, and some people feel this was his second play, because they were some of the first ones published, because part 2 was originally published as the first part of the contention between the houses of York with the death of the good Duke Humphrey. You know, they had sort of long titles for some of those. And then this was the second part of the contention, because the first part of Henry VI, it was never published until the folio, and that's when we got at them as the first part, the second part, and the third part. So, and which also, this is also part of the story of Margaret, who from Henry VI Part 1 to Richard III is one of the characters, one of the few characters who makes it through 4 plays. Which is the most. There are a few others, but anyways. But enough with that. Let's get on with the show. And so I'm going to read some of the stage directions on this. I think just because it's useful to sort of know who the people are, and with the histories, they often do have things pertaining to action. So. Actus prima scene prima, alarum, enter Plantagenet, Edward, Richard, Norfolk, Montague, Warwick, and soldiers.
One the king escaped our hands.
While we pursued the horsemen of the north, he slyly stole away and left his men, whereat the great Lord of Northumberland, whose warlike ears could never brook retreat, cheered up the drooping army, and himself, Lord Clifford and Lord Stafford, still abreast, charged our main battle's front, and breaking in, whereby the swords of common soldiers slain. Lord Stafford's father, Duke of Buckingham, is either slain or wounded dangerous. I cleft his beaver with a downright blow. This is true, father. Behold his blood.
And brother, here's the Earl of Wiltshire's blood, whom I encountered as the battles joined.
Speak thou for me, and tell them what I did.
Richard hath best deserved of all my sons. But is your grace dead, my lord of Somerset? Such hope have all the lines of John of Gaunt.
Thus do I hope to shake King Henry's head.
And so do I, victorious Prince of York. Before I see thee seated in that throne, which now the house of Lancaster usurps, I vow by heaven these eyes shall never close. This is the palace of the fearful king, and this is the regal seat. Possess it, York, for this is thine, and not King Henry's heirs.
Assist me then, sweet Warwick, and I will, for hither we have broken in by force. We'll all assist you. He that flies shall die. Thanks, gentle Norfolk. Stand by me, my lords, and soldiers stay and lodge by me this night.
And when the king comes, offer him no violence, unless he seek to thrust you out perforce.
The queen this day here holds her parliament, but little thinks we shall be of her counsel. By words or blows here let us win our right.
Armed as we are, let's stay within this house.
The bloody parliament shall this be called, unless Plantagenet, Duke of York, be king, and bashful Henry deposed, whose cowardice hath made us bywords to our enemies.
Then leave me not, my lords, be resolute. I mean to take possession of my right.
Neither the king nor he that loves him best, the proudest he that holds of Lancaster, dare stir a wing, if Warwick shakes his bells. I'll plant Plantagenet, root him up who dares. Resolve thee, Richard, claim the English crown.
Flourish, enter King Henry, Clifford, Northumberland, Westmoreland, Exeter, and the rest.
Excuse me, my lords, look where the sturdy rebel sits, even in the chair of state. Belike he means, backed by the power of Warwick, that false peer, to aspire unto the crown and reign as king, Earl of Northumberland. He slew thy father, and thine, Lord Clifford, and you both have vowed revenge on him, his sons, his favourites, and his friends.
If I be not, heavens be revenged on me. The hope thereof makes Clifford mourn in steel. What, shall we suffer this? Let's pluck him down. My heart for anger burns, I cannot brook it.
Be patient, gentle Earl of Westmoreland.
Patience is for poltroons, such as he durst not sit there, had your father lived. My gracious lord, here in the Parliament, let us assail the family of York.
Well, if thou spoken, cousin, be it so.
Ah, know you not the city favours them, and they have troops of soldiers at their beck?
But when the Duke is slain, they'll quickly fly.
Far be the thought of this from Henry's heart, to make a shambles of the Parliament's house. Cousin of Exeter frowns, words and threats shall be the war that Henry means to use. Thou factious Duke of York, descend my throne, and kneel for grace and mercy at my feet. I am thy sovereign.
I am thine.
Oh, for shame, come down. He made thee Duke of York.
It was my inheritance, as the earldom was.
Thy father was a traitor to the crown.
Exeter, thou art a traitor to the crown in following this usurping Henry.
Whom should he follow but his natural king?
True, Clifford, that's Richard, Duke of York.
And shall I stand, and thou sit in my throne?
I must, it must and shall be so. Content thyself.
Be Duke of Lancaster, let him be king.
He is both king and Duke of Lancaster, and that the Lord of Westmoreland shall maintain.
And Warwick shall disprove it. You forget that we are those which chased you from the field and slew your fathers, and with colors spread marched through the city to the palace gates.
Yes, Warwick, I remember it to my grief, and by this soul thou and thy house shall rue it.
Plantagenet, of thee and these thy sons, thy kinsmen, and thy friends, I'll have more lives than drops of blood were in my father's veins.
Urge it no more, lest that instead of words I send thee, Warwick, such a messenger as shall revenge his death before I stir.
Poor Clifford, how I scorn his worthless threats.
Will we show our title to the crown? If not, our sword shall plead it in the field.
What title hast thou, traitor to the crown? My father was as thou art, Duke of York. Thy grandfather, Roger Mortimer, Earl of March. I am the son of Henry V. who made the Dolphin and the French to stoop and seized upon their towns and provinces.
Talk not of France, sith thou hast lost it all.
The Lord Protector lost it, not I. When I was crowned, I was but 9 months old.
You are old enough now, and yet methinks you lose. Father, tear the crown from the usurper's head.
Sweet father, do so. Set it on your head.
Good brother, as thou lovest and honorest arms, let's fight it out and not stand cavilling thus.
Sound drums and trumpets, and the king will fly.
Sons, peace.
Peace thou, and give King Henry leave to speak.
Plantagenet shall speak first. Hear him, lords, and be you silent and attentive too, for he that interrupts him shall not live.
Think'st thou that I will leave my kingly throne, wherein my grandsire and my father sat? No, first shall war unpeople this my realm. I, in their colours, often born in France, and now in England, to our heart's great sorrow, shall be my winding sheet. Why faint you, lords? My title's good, and better far than his.
Prove it, Henry, and thou shalt be king.
Henry IV by conquest got the crown.
'Twas by rebellion against his king.
I know not what to say. My title's weak. Tell me, may not a king adopt an heir?
What then?
And if he may, then am I lawful king. For Richard, in the view of many lords, resigned the crown to Henry IV, whose heir my father was, and I am his.
He rose against him, being his sovereign, and made him to resign his crown perforce.
Suppose, my lords, he did it unconstrained. Think you 'twere prejudicial to his crown?
No, for he could not resign his crown, but that the next heir shall succeed in reign.
Art thou against us, Duke of Exeter?
His is the right, and therefore pardon me.
Why whisper you, my lords, and answer not?
My conscience tells me he is lawful king.
All will revolt from me and turn to him.
Plantagenet, for all the claim thou layest, think not that Henry shall be so deposed.
Deposed he shall be, in despite of all.
Thou art deceived. 'Tis not thy southern power of Essex, Norfolk, Suffolk, nor of Kent, which makes thee thus presumptuous and proud, can set the Duke up in despite of me. King Henry, be thy title right or wrong, Lord Clifford vows to fight in thy defence. May that ground gape and swallow me alive when I shall kneel to him that slew my father.
O Clifford, how thy words revive my heart.
Henry of Lancaster, resign thy crown. What mutter you, or what conspire you, lords?
Do right unto this princely Duke of York, or I will fill the house with armed men, and over the chair of state where now he sits, write up his title with usurping blood.
He stamps with his foot, and the soldiers show themselves.
My lord of Warwick, hear but one word. Let me for this my lifetime reign as king.
Confirm the crown to me and to mine heirs, and thou shalt reign in quiet while thou livest.
I am content. Richard Plantagenet, enjoy the kingdom after my decease.
What wrong is this unto the prince your son?
What good is this to England and himself?
Base, fearful, and despairing Henry, how hast thou injured both thyself and us? I cannot stay to hear their articles, nor I. Come, cousin, let us to the queen, and tell her of these news. Farewell, faint-hearted and degenerate king, in whose cold blood no spark of honor bides. Be thou a prey unto the house of York, and die in bands for this unmanly deed. In dreadful war mayst thou be overcome, or live in peace, abandoned and despised.
Turn this way, Henry, and regard them not.
They seek revenge, and therefore will not yield.
Ah, Exeter.
Why should you sigh, my lord?
Not for myself, Lord Warwick, but my son, whom I unnaturally shall disinherit. But be it as it may, I hear and tell the crown to thee and to thine heirs forever. Conditionally, that here thou take an oath to cease the civil war, and whilst I live to honour me as thy king and sovereign, and neither by treason nor hostility to seek to put me down and reign thyself.
This oath I willingly take and will perform.
Long live King Henry, Plantagenet, embrace him.
And long live thou and these thy forward sons.
Now York and Lancaster are reconciled.
Accursed be he that seeks to make them foes.
Senate, here they come down. Farewell, my gracious lord, I'll to my castle.
London with my soldiers.
And I to Norfolk with my followers.
Fly unto the sea from whence I came.
And I with grief and sorrow to the court.
And to the
Oh, here comes the queen whose looks bewray her anger. I'll steal away.
Exeter, so will I. So will I.
Now the queen is here.
Ah, who can be patient in such extremes? Ah, wretched man, would I had died a maid, and never seen thee, never borne thee son, seeing thou hast proved so unnatural a father. Hath he deserved to lose his birthrights thus? Hadst thou but loved him half so well as I, or felt the pain which I did for him once, or nourished him as I did with my blood, thou wouldst have left thy dearest heart blood there, rather than have made that savage duke here thine heir, and disinherited thine only son.
Father, you cannot disinherit me. If you be king, why should not I succeed?
Pardon me, Margaret, pardon me, sweet son. The Earl of Warwick and the Duke enforced me.
Enforced thee? Art thou king, and wilt be forced? I shame to hear thee speak. Ah, timorous wretch, thou hast undone thyself, thy son and me, and given unto the house of York such head as thou shalt reign but by their sufferance. To entail him and his heirs unto the crown, what is it but to make thy sepulchre and creep into it far before thy time? Warwick is chancellor and lord of Calais. Stern Falconbridge commands the narrow seas. The Duke is made protector of the realm, and yet shalt thou be safe? Such safety finds the trembling lamb environed with wolves. Had I been there, which am a silly woman, the shoulders should have tossed me on their pikes before I would have granted to that act. But thou preferredst thy life before thine honor, and seeing thou dost, I here divorce myself from both thy table, Henry, and thy bed, until that act of Parliament be repealed, whereby my son is disinherited. The northern lords have forsworn thy colors, will follow me, if once they see them spread, and spread they shall be, to thy foul disgrace and utter ruin of the house of York. Thus do I leave thee. Come, son, let's away. Our army is ready. Come, we'll after them.
Stay, gentle Margaret, and hear me speak.
Thou hast spoke too much already. Get thee gone.
Gentle son Edward, thou wilt stay me?
Aye, to be murdered by his enemies.
When I return with victory to the field, I'll see your grace. Till then, I'll follow her.
Come, son, away. We may not linger thus.
Poor queen, how love to me and to her son hath made her break out into terms of rage. Revenged may she be on that hateful duke whose haughty spirit, winged with desire, will cost my crown, and like an empty eagle, tire on the flesh of me and of my son. The loss of those three lords torments my heart. I'll write unto them and entreat them fair. Come, cousin, you shall be the messenger.
And I hope shall reconcile them all.
Enter Richard, flourish. Enter Richard, Edward, and Montague.
Brother, though I be youngest, give me leave.
No, I can better play the orator.
But I have reason strong and forcible.
Enter the Duke of York. Why, how now, sons and brother, at a strife? What is your quarrel? How began it first? Not a quarrel, but a slight contention. About what?
About that which concerns your grace and us, the crown of England, father, which is yours.
Mine, boy, not till King Henry be dead.
Your right depends not on his life or death.
Now you are heir, therefore enjoy it now. By giving the house of Lancaster leave to breathe, it will outrun you, father, in the end. I took an oath that he should quietly reign, but for a kingdom any oath may be broken. I would break 1,000 oaths to reign 1 year.
No, God forbid your grace should be forsworn.
It shall be if I claim by open war.
I'll prove the contrary if you'll hear me speak.
Thou canst not, son, it is impossible.
An oath is of no moment, being not took before a true and lawful magistrate, that hath authority over him that swears. Henry had none, but did usurp the place. Then, seeing 'twas he that made you to depose, your oath, my lord, is vain and frivolous. Therefore to arms, and father, do but think how sweet a thing it is to wear a crown within whose circuit is Elysium, and all that poets feign of bliss and joy. Why do we linger thus? I cannot rest until the white rose that I wear be dyed even in the lukewarm blood of Henry's heart.
Richard, enough, I will be king or die. Brother, thou shalt to London presently, and wed on Warwick to this enterprise. Thou, Richard, shalt to the Duke of Norfolk, and tell him privily of our intent. You, Edward, shall unto my Lord Cobham, with whom the Kentishmen will willingly rise. In them I trust, for they are soldiers, witty, courteous, liberal, full of spirit. Whilst you are thus employed, what resteth more, but that I seek occasion how to rise, and yet the king not privy to my drift, nor any of the house of Lancaster. Enter Gabriel. But stay, what news? Why comest thou in such post?
The queen, with all the northern earls and lords, intend here to besiege you in your castle. She is hard by with 20,000 men, and therefore fortify your hold, my lord.
Ay, with my sword. What thinkest thou, that we fear them? Edward and Richard, you shall stay with me. My brother Montague shall post to London. Let noble Warwick, Cobham, and the rest, whom we have left protectors of the king, with powerful policy strengthen themselves, and trust not simple Henry, nor his oaths.
Brother, I go. I'll win them, fear it not. And thus most humbly I do take my leave.
Exit Montague, enter Mortimer and his brother. Sir John and Sir Hugh Mortimer, mine uncles, you are come to handle in a happy hour. The army of the queen mean to besiege us.
She shall not need. We'll meet her in the field.
What, with 5,000 men?
I with 500, father, for a need. A woman's general, what should we fear?
A march afar off. I hear their drums. Let's set our men in order, and issue forth and bid them battle straight. 5 men to 20. Though the odds be great, I doubt not, uncle, of our victory. Many a battle have I won in France, when, as the enemy hath been 10 to 1. Why should I not now have the like success? Alarum. Exit. Enter Rutland and his tutor. Let's see, we need a Rutland and a tutor.
I'll do the tutor.
Okay.
Want me to do Rutland?
Yeah, Kitty.
Okay. Whither shall I fly to escape their hands? Tutor, look, where bloody Clifford comes.
Enter Clifford. Chaplain away, thy priesthood saves thy life. As for the brat of this accursed duke, whose father slew my father, he shall die.
And I, my lord, will bear him company.
Soldiers away with him.
Ah, Clifford, murder not this innocent child, lest thou be hated both of God and man.
Oh, now, is he dead already, or is it fear that makes him close his eyes? I'll open them.
So looks the pent-up lion or the wretch that trembles under his devouring claws. And so he walks, insulting o'er his prey, and so he comes to rend his limbs asunder. Ah, gentle Clifford, kill me with thy sword, and not with such a cruel, threatening look. Sweet Clifford, hear me speak before I die. I am too mean and subject for thy wrath. Be thou revenged on men, and let me live.
In vain thou speak'st, poor boy. My father's blood hath stopped the passage where thy word should enter.
Then let my father's blood open it again. He is a man, and Clifford cope with him.
Had I thy brethren here, and their lives and thine were not revenge sufficient for me, not if I digged up thy forefathers' graves and hung their rotten coffins up in chains, it could not slake mine ire, nor ease my heart. The sight of any of the house of York is as a fury to torment my soul, until I root out their accursed line, and leave not one alive. I live in hell. Therefore, Rutland, are you going to pray before he kill you?
Defectis loris summa sit istatu.
Therefore, well, let me pray before I take my death. To thee I pray, sweet Clifford, pity me. Such pity as my rapier's point affords.
I never did.
Oh, go ahead. I never did thee harm. Why wilt thou slay me?
Thy father hath.
But 'twas ere I was born. Thou hast one son. For his sake pity me. Least in revenge thereof, sith God is just, he be as miserably slain as I. Oh, let me live in prison all my days, and when I give occasion of offence, then let me die. But now thou hast no cause.
No cause. Thy father slew my father. Therefore die.
Jesus cielo de samara sit istatu.
Plantagenet, I come, Plantagenet, and this, thy son's blood, cleaving to my blade, shall rust upon my weapon till thy blood congealed with this doth make me wipe off both. Exit. Alarum, enter. Richard, Duke of York. The army of the Queen hath got the field. My uncles both are slain in rescuing me. And all my followers to the eager foe turn back and fly like ships before the wind, or lambs pursued by the hunger-starved wolves. My sons, God knows what hath bechanced them. But this I know, they have demeaned themselves like men born to renown by life or death. 3 times did Richard make a lane to me, and thrice cried, "Courage, father, fight it out!" And full as oft came Edward to my side, with purple falchion painted to the hilt in blood of those that had encountered him. And when the hardiest warriors did retire, Richard cried, "Charge, and give no foot or ground," and cried, "A crown, or else a glorious tomb, a scepter, or an earthly sepulchre." With this we charged again, but out, alas, we bodged again, as I have seen a swan with bootless labour swim against the tide and spend her strength with overmarching waves. A short alarum within. Ah, hark! The fatal followers do pursue, and I am fate and cannot fly their fury. And were I strong, I would not shun their fury. The sands are numbered that make up my life. Here must I stay, and here my life must end. And to the Queen, Clifford, Northumberland, the young prince, and the soldiers. Come, bloody Clifford, rough Northumberland, I dare your quenchless fury to more rage. I am your butt, and I abide your shot. Yield to our mercy, proud Plantagenet. Aye, to such mercy as this ruthless arm with downright payment showed unto my father. Now Phaeton hath tumbled from his cart, and hath made an evening as the noontide prick. My ashes, as the phoenix, may bring forth a bird that will revenge upon you all. And in that hope I throw mine eyes to heaven, scorning whate'er you can afflict me with. Why come you not? What, multitudes and fear? So cowards fight when they can fly no further, so doves peck the falcon's piercing talons, so desperate thieves, all hopeless of their lives, breathe out invectives against the officers. Oh, Clifford, But bethink thee once again, and in thy thought o'errun my former time, and if thou canst for blushing view this face, and bite thy tongue that slanders him with cowardice, whose frown hath made thee faint and fly ere this. I will not bandy with thee word for word, but buckle or with thee blows twice 2 for 1.
Hold, valiant Clifford. For 1,000 causes I would prolong a while the traitor's life. Wrath makes him deaf. Speak thou, Northumberland.
Old Clifford, do not honour him so much, to prick thy finger, though to wound his heart. What valour were it when a cur doth grin for one to thrust his hand between his teeth, when he might spurn him with his foot away? It is the war's prize, to take all vantages, and 10 to 1 'tis no impeach of valour. Aye, aye, so strives the woodcock with the gin, so doth the coney struggle in the net, so triumph thieves upon their conquered booty, so true men yield with robbers, so o'ermatched. What would your grace have done unto him now?
Brave warriors, Clifford and Northumberland, come make him stand upon this molehill here, that wrought at mountains with outstretched arms, yet parted but the shadow with his hand. What? Was it you that would be England's king? Was it you that revelled in our parliament and made a preachment of your high descent? Where are your mess of sons to back you now? The wanton Edward and the lusty George. And where's that valiant crook-back prodigy Dicky, your boy, that with his grumbling voice was wont to cheer his dad in mutinies? Or with the rest, where is your darling Rutland? Look, York, I stained this napkin with the blood of that valiant Clifford with his rapier's point, made issue from the bosom of the boy. And if thine eyes can water for his death, I give thee this to dry thy cheeks withal. Alas, poor York, but that I hate thee deadly, I should lament thy miserable state. I prithee grieve to make me merry, York. What, hath thy fiery heart so parched thine entrails that not a tear can fall for Rutland's death? Why art thou patient, man? Thou shouldst be mad. And I, to make thee mad, doth mock thee thus, stamp, rave, and fret, that I may sing and dance. Thou wouldst be freed, I see, to make me sport. York cannot speak unless he wear a crown of York, for York and lords bow low to him. Hold you his hands whilst I do set it on. Aye, merry sir, now looks he at the king like a king. Aye, this is he that took King Henry's chair, and this is he was adopted heir. But how is it that great Plantagenet is crowned so soon, and broke his solemn oath? As I bethink me, you should not be king, till our Henry had shook hands with death. And will you pale your head in Henry's glory, and rob his temples of the diadem, now in his life, against your holy oath? Oh, 'tis a fault too unpardonable. Off with the crown, and with the crown his head. And whilst we breathe, take time to do him dead.
This is my office for my father's sake.
Nay, stay, let's hear the orisons he makes.
She-wolf of France, but worse than wolves of France, whose tongue more poisons than the adder's tooth. How ill-beseeming is it in thy sex to triumph like an Amazonian trull upon their woes whom fortune captivates, but that thy face is vizard-like, unchanging, made impudent with use of evil deeds, I would essay, proud queen, to make thee blush, to tell thee whence thou camest, of whom derived, were shame enough to shame thee, wert thou not shameless. Thy father bears the title of King of Naples, of both the Sicils and Jerusalem, yet not so wealthy as an English yeoman. Hath that poor monarch taught thee to insult? It needs not, nor boots thee not, proud queen, unless the adage must be verified, that beggars mounted run their horse to death. 'Tis beauty that doth oft make women proud, but God he knows thy share thereof is small. 'Tis virtue that doth make them most admired, the contrary doth make thee wondered at. 'Tis government that makes them seem divine, the want thereof makes thee abominable. Thou art as opposite to every good as the antipodes are unto us, or as the south to the septentrion. O tiger's heart wrapped in a woman's hide, how couldst thou drain the lifeblood of the child, to bid the father weep his eyes withal, and yet be seen to bear a woman's face? Women are soft, mild, pitiful, and flexible. Thou stern, obdurate, flinty, rough, remorseless, bidst thou me rage? Why, now thou hast thy wish, wouldst have me weep? Why, now thou hast thy will. For raging wind blows up incessant showers, and when the rage allays, the rain begins. These tears are my sweet Rutland's obsequies, and every drop cries vengeance for his death, 'gainst thee, fell Clifford, and thee, false Frenchwoman. Beshrew me, but his passion moves me so that I can hardly check my eyes from tears. The face of his, the hungry cannibals would not have touched, would not have stained with blood, but you are more inhumane, more inexorable, 10 times more than tigers of Hyrcania. See, ruthless queen, a hapless father's tears, the cloth that thou dipp'st in blood of my sweet boy, and I with tears do wash the blood away. Keep thou the napkin, and go boast of this. And if thou tells thou heavy story aright, upon my soul, the hearers will shed tears. Yea, even my foes will shed fast-falling tears, and say, Alas, it was a piteous deed. There take the crown, and with this crown my curse. And in thy need such comfort come to thee, as now I reap at thy too cruel hand. Hard-hearted Clifford, take me from the world, my soul to heaven, my blood upon your heads. That Eben slaughterman to all my kin, I should not for my life but weep with him to see how inly sorrow grips his soul.
What, weeping ripe, my lord Northumberland? Think but upon the wrong he did us all, and that will quickly dry thy melting tears.
Here's for my oath, here's for my father's death!
And here's to right our gentle-hearted king.
Open thy gates of mercy, gracious God. My soul flies through these wounds to seek out thee.
Off with his head and set it on York gates, so York may overlook the town of York.
Flourish, exit, a march, enter Edward, Richard, and their power. I wonder how our princely father scaped, or whether he be scaped away or no, from Clifford and Northumberland's pursuit. Had he been ta'en, we should have heard the news. Had he been slain, we should have heard the news. Or had he scaped? Methinks we should have heard the happy tidings of his good escape. How fares my brother? Why is he so sad?
I cannot joy until I be resolved where our right valiant father is become. I saw him in the battle range about, and watched him how he singled Clifford forth. Methought he bore him in the thickest troop, as doth a lion in a herd of neat, or as a bear encompassed round with dogs, who, having pinched a few and made them cry, the rest stand all aloof and bark at him. So fared our father with his enemies, so fled his enemies, my warlike father. Methinks 'tis prize enough to be his son. See how the morning opes her golden gates, and takes her farewell of the glorious sun. How well resembles it the prime of youth, trimmed like a yonker, prancing to his love.
Dazzle mine eyes, or do I see 3 sons?
3 glorious sons, each one a perfect son, not separated with the racking clouds, but severed in a pale, clear, shining sky. See, see, they join, embrace, and seem to kiss, as if they vowed some league inviolable. Now are they but one lamp, one light, one sun. In this the heaven figures some event.
'Tis wondrous strange, the like yet never heard of. I think it cites us, brother, to the field, that we, the sons of brave Plantagenet, each one already blazing by our meads, should notwithstanding join our lights together and overshine the earth as this the world. Whate'er it bows, henceforward will I bear upon my target 3 fair shining suns.
Nay, bear 3 daughters. By your leave I speak it. You love the breeder better than the male.
Enter one blowing.
But what art thou, whose heavy looks foretell some dreadful story hanging on thy tongue?
Oh, one that was a woeful looker on, when as the noble Duke of York was slain, your princely father and my loving lord.
Oh, speak no more, for I've heard too much.
Say how he died, for I will hear it all.
Environed he was with many foes, and stood against them as the hope of Troy against the Greeks that would have entered Troy. But Hercules himself was yield to odds, and many strokes, though with little axe, he was down and fell as the hardiest timber oak. By many hands your father was subdued, but only slaughtered by the airful arm but unrelenting Clifford and the queen, who crowned the gracious Duke in high despite, laughed in his face, and when with grief he wept, the ruthless queen gave him to dry his cheeks a napkin steeped in the harmless blood of sweet young Rutland, by rough Clifford slain. And after many scorns, many foul taunts, they took his head, and on the gates of York they set the same, and there it doth remain, the saddest spectacle that e'er I viewed.
Sweet Duke of York, our prop to lean upon, now thou art gone. We have no staff, no stay. Oh, Clifford, boisterous Clifford, thou hast slain the flower of Europe. For his chivalry and treacherously hast thou vanquished him, for hand to hand he would have vanquished thee. Now my soul's palace is become a prison. Ah, would she break from hence, and this my body might in the ground be closed up and rest, for never henceforth shall I joy again, never, oh never shall I see more joy.
I cannot weep, for all my body's moisture scarce serves to quench my furnace-burning heart. Nor can my tongue unload my heart's great burden, for self-same wind that I should speak withal is kindling coals that fires all my breast, and burns me up with flames the tears would quench. To weep is to make less the depth of grief. Tears then for babes, blows and revenge for me. Richard, I bear thy name, I'll venge thy death, or die renowned by attempting it.
His name that valiant Duke hath left with thee, his dukedom and his chair with me is left.
Nay, if thou be that princely eagle's bird, shew thy descent by gazing 'gainst the sun. For chair and dukedom, throne and kingdom say, either that is thine, or else thou wert not his.
March, enter Warwick, Marcus Montacute, and their army.
How now, fair lords? What fare? What news abroad?
Great Lord of Warwick, if we should recount our baleful news, at each word's deliverance stab poignards in our flesh, till all were told, the words would add more anguish than the wounds. O valiant lord, the Duke of York is slain.
O Warwick, Warwick, that Plantagenet, which held thee dearly as his soul's redemption, is by the stern Lord Clifford done to death.
10 days ago, I drowned these news in tears, and now to add more measure to your woes, I come to tell you things since then befallen, after the bloody fray at Wakefield fought, where your brave father breathed his last gasp. Tidings as swiftly as the post could run were brought me of your loss and his depart. I then in London, keeper of the king, mustered my soldiers, gathered flocks of friends, marched towards St. Albans to intercept the queen. bearing the king in my behalf along. For by my scouts I was advertised that she was coming, with a full intent to dash our late decree in Parliament touching King Henry's oath and your succession. Short tale to make, we at St. Albans met, our battles joined, and both sides fiercely fought. But whether 'twas the coldness of the king, who looked full gently on his warlike queen, that robbed my soldiers of their heated spleen, or whether 'twas report of her success, or more than common fear of Clifford's rigor, who thunders to his captives blood and death, I cannot judge. But to conclude with truth, their weapons, like to lightning, came and went. Our soldiers, like the night owl's lazy flight, or like a lazy thresher with a flail, fell gently down, as if they struck their friends. I cheered them up with justice of our cause, with promise of high pay and great rewards, but all in vain. They had no heart to fight, and we in them no hope to win the day, so that we fled. The king unto the queen, Lord George your brother, Norfolk and myself, in haste, post haste, are come to join with you. For in the marches here we heard you were making another head to fight again.
Where is the Duke of Norfolk, gentle Warwick? And when came George from Burgundy to England?
Some 6 miles off the Duke is with his soldiers, and for your brother he was lately sent from your kind Anne, Duchess of Burgundy, with aid of soldiers to this needful war.
'Twas odds belike when valiant Warwick fled. Oft have I heard his praises in pursuit, but ne'er till now his scandal of retire.
And now, my scandal, Richard, dost thou hear? For thou shalt know this strong right hand of mine can pluck the diadem from faint Henry's head, and wring the awful scepter from his fist, were he as famous and as bold in war as he is famed for mildness, peace, and prayer.
I know it well, Lord Warwick, blame me not. 'Tis love I bear, thy glories make me speak. But in this troublous time, what's to be done? Shall we go throw away our coats of steel and wrap our bodies in black mourning gowns, numbering our Ave Marias with our beads? Or shall we, on the helmets of our foes, tell our devotion with revengeful arms? If for the last, say aye, and to it, lords.
Why, therefore Warwick came to seek you out, and therefore comes my brother Montague. Attend me, lords. The proud insulting queen with Clifford, and the haught Northumberland, and of their feather many more proud birds, have wrought the easy melting king like wax. He swore consent to your succession, his oath enrolled in the Parliament. And now to London all the crew are gone, to frustrate both his oath and what beside may make against the house of Lancaster. Their power, I think, is 30,000 strong. Now, if the help of Norfolk and myself, with all the friends that thou brave Earl of March, amongst the loving Welshmen canst procure, will but amount to 25,000. Why, via to London will we march, and once again bestride our foaming steeds, and once again cry, charge upon our floes, but never once again turn back and fly.
Aye, now methinks I hear great Warwick speak. Ne'er may he live to see a sunshine day that cries retire, if Warwick bid him stay.
Lord Warwick, on thy shoulder will I lean, and when thou failest, as God forbid the hour, must Edward fall, which peril heaven forfend.
No longer Earl of March, but Duke of York. The next degree is England's royal throne. For King of England shalt thou be proclaimed in every borough as we pass along. And he that throws not up his cap for joy shall for the fault make forfeit of his head. King Edward, valiant Richard Montague, stay we no longer dreaming of renown, but sound the trumpets and about our task.
Then, Clifford, were thy heart as hard as steel as thou hast shewn it flinty by thy deeds, I come to pierce it, or to give thee mine.
Then strike up drums, God and St. George for us. Enter a messenger.
How now? What news?
Ah, the Duke of Norfolk sends you word by me. The Queen is coming with a puissant host and craves your company for speedy counsel.
Why, then it sorts. Brave warriors, let's away.
Exeunt omnes. Flourish enter the king, the queen, Clifford, Northumberland, the young prince, with drums and trumpets.
Welcome, my lord, to this brave town of York. Yonder's the head of that arch enemy that sought to be encompassed with your crown. Doth not the object cheer your heart, my lord?
Aye, as the rocks cheer them that fear their wreck. To see this sight, it irks my very soul. Withhold revenge, dear God, 'tis not my fault, nor wittingly have I infringed my vow.
Ah, my gracious liege, this too much lenity and harmful pity must be laid aside. To whom do lions cast their gentle looks? Not to the beast that would usurp their den. Whose hand is it that the forest bear doth lick? Not his that spoils her young before her face, who scapes the lurking serpent's mortal sting, not he that sets his foot upon her back. The smallest worm will turn being trodden on, and doves will peck in safeguard of their brood. Ambitious York did level at thy crown, thou smiling while he knit his angry brows. He but a duke would have his son a king, and raise his issue like a loving sire. Thou, being a king, blessed with a goodly son, didst yield consent to disinherit him, which argued thee a most unloving father. Unreasonable creatures feed their young, and though man's face be fearful to their eyes, yet in protection of their tender ones. Who hath not seen them, even with those wings, which sometimes they have used with fearful flight, make war with him that climbed unto their nest, offering their own lives in their young's defence? For shame, my liege, make them your precedent. Were it not pity that this goodly boy should lose his birthright by his father's fault, and long hereafter say unto his child, what my grandfather and grandsire got, my careless father fondly gave away. Ah, what shame were this! Look on the boy, and let his manly face, which promiseth successful fortune, steel thy melting heart to hold thine own, and leave thine own with him.
Full well hath Clifford played the orator in faring arguments of mighty force. But, Clifford, tell me, didst thou never hear that things ill got had ever bad success? And happy always was it for that son whose father for his hoarding went to hell. I'll leave my son my virtuous deeds behind, and would my father had left me no more. For all the rest is held at such a rate as brings 1,000-fold more care to keep than in possession any jot of pleasure. Ah, cousin York, would thy best friends did know how it doth grieve me that thy head is here.
My lord, cheer up your spirits. Our foes are nigh, and this soft courage makes your followers faint. You promised knighthood to our forward son. Unsheath your sword and dub him presently. Edward, kneel down.
Edward Plantagenet, arise a knight, and learn this lesson, draw thy sword in right.
My gracious father, by your kingly leave, I'll draw it as a parent to the crown, and in that quarrel use it to the death. Why, that is spoken like a torrid prince. Enter a messenger.
Oh, royal commanders, be in readiness, for with a band of 30,000 men comes Warwick, backing of the Duke of York, and in the towns as they do march along, proclaims him king, and many fly to him. Darraign your battle, for they are at hand.
I would your highness would depart the field. The queen hath best success when you are absent.
Ay, good my lord, and leave us to our fortune.
Why, that's my fortune too, therefore I'll stay.
Be with it resolution then to fight. My royal father, cheer these noble lords, and hearten those that fight in your defence. Unsheath your sword, good father. Cry St. George. March, enter Edward, Warwick, Richard, Clarence, Norfolk, Montague, and soldiers. Now, perjured Henry, wilt thou kneel for grace, and set thy diadem upon my head, or bid the mortal fortune of the field?
Go rate thy minions, proud insulting boy. Becomes it thee to be thus bold in terms before thy sovereign and thy lawful king?
I am his king, and he should bow his knee. I was adopted heir by his consent.
Since when his oath is broke? For as I hear, you that are king, though he do wear the crown, have caused him by new act of parliament to blot out me and put his own son in.
And reason, too, who should succeed the father but the son.
Are you there, butcher? Oh, I cannot speak.
I crook back here. I stand to answer thee, or any of the proudest of thy sort.
'Twas you that killed young Rutland, was it not?
Aye, in old York, and yet not satisfied.
For God's sake, lords, give signal to the fight!
What sayst thou, Henry? Wilt thou yield the crown?
Why, how now, long-tongued Warwick? Dare when you and I met at St. Albans last, your legs did better service than your hands.
Then 'twas my turn to fly, and now 'tis thine.
You said so much before, and yet you fled.
Was not your valor, Clifford, who drove me thence?
No, nor your manhood that durst make you stay.
Northumberland, I hold thee reverently. Break off the parley, for scarce I can refrain the execution of my big swollen heart upon that Clifford, that cruel child-killer.
I slew thy father. Callest thou him a child?
Aye, like a dastard and a treacherous coward, as thou didst kill our tender brother Rutland. But ere sunset I'll make thee curse the deed.
Have done with words, my lords, and hear me speak.
Defy them then, or else hold close thy lips.
I prithee give no limits to my tongue. I am a king, and privileged to speak.
My liege, the wound that bred this meeting here cannot be cured by words, therefore be still.
Then, executioner, unsheathe thy sword. By him that made us all, I am resolved that Clifford's manhood lies upon his tongue.
Say, Henry, shall I have my right or no? 1,000 men have broke their fasts today, that ne'er shall dine unless thou yield the crown.
If thou deny, their blood upon thy head. For York injustice puts his armor on.
If that be right, which Warwick says is right, there is nothing wrong, but everything is right.
Whoever got thee, there thy mother stands, for well I wot thou hast thy mother's tongue.
But thou art neither like the sire nor the dame, but like a foul misshapen stigmatate, marked by the destinies to be avoided, as venom toads or lizards' dreadful stings.
The iron of Naples hid with English guilt, whose father bears the title of a king, as if a channel should be called the sea. Shamest thou not, knowing whence thou art extraught, to let thy tongue detect thy base-born heart?
A wisp of straw were worth 1,000 crowns to make this shameless callet know herself. Helena's Greece was fairer far than thou, although thy husband may be Menelaus, and ne'er was Agamemnon's brother wronged by that false woman as this king by thee. His father revelled in the heart of France, and tamed the king, and made the dolphin stoop, and he hath marched according to his state. He might have kept that glory to this day, but when he took a beggar to his bed, and graced thy poor sire with his bridal day, even then the sunshine brewed a shower for him, that washed his father's fortune forth of France, and heaped sedition on the crown at home. For what hath broached this tumult but thy pride? Hadst thou been meek, our title still had slept, and we in pity of the gentle king had slipped our claim until another age.
Is that my line? Someone take it for me.
But when we saw our sunshine made thy spring, and that thy summer bred us no increase, we set the axe to thy usurping root. And though the edge hath something hit ourselves, yet know thou, since we have begun to strike, we'll never leave till we have hewn thee down, or bathed thy groin with our heated bloods.
And in this resolution I defy thee, not willing any longer conference, since thou deniest the gentle king to speak. Sound, trumpets, let our bloody colours wave, and either victory or else a grave.
Stay, Edward.
No, wrangling woman, we'll no longer stay. These words will cost 10,000 lives this day. Exeunt omnes. Alarums, excursions, enter Warwick.
O'erspent with toil, as runners with a race, I lay me down a little while to breathe. For strokes received, and many blows repaid, have robbed my strong knit sinews of their strength, and spite of spite, needs must I rest a while.
Enter Edward running. Smile, gentle heaven, or strike ungentle death, for this world frowns, and Edward's sun is clouded.
Oh, now, my lord, what hap? What hope of good?
Enter Clarence.
Our hap is loss, our hope but sad despair. Our ranks are broken, ruin follows us. What counsel give you? Whither shall we fly?
Bootless is flight, they follow us with wings, and weak we are, and cannot shun pursuit. Enter Richard.
Oh, Warwick, why hast you withdrawn thyself? Thy brother's blood the thirsty earth hath drunk, broached with the steely point of Clifford's lance, and in the very pangs of death, he cried, like to a dismal clangour heard from far, Warwick, revenge, brother, revenge my death. So underneath the belly of their steeds that stained their footlocks in his smoking blood, the noble gentleman gave up the ghost.
Then let the earth be drunken with our blood. I'll kill my horse, because I will not fly. Why stand we like soft-hearted women here, wailing our losses, whilst the foe doth rage, and look upon as if the tragedy were played in jest by counterfeiting actors? Here on my knee I vow to God above, I'll never pause again, never stand still, till either death hath closed these eyes of mine, or fortune given me measure of revenge.
O Warwick, I do bend my knee with thine, and in this vow do chain my soul to thine. And ere my knee rise from the earth's cold face, I throw my hands, my eyes, my heart to thee. Thou setter up and plucker down of kings, beseeching thee, if with thy will it stands, that to my foes this body must be prey, yet that thy brazen gates of heaven may ope, and give sweet passage to my sinful soul. Now, lords, take leave until we meet again, where'er it be, in heaven or in earth.
Brother, give me thy hand, and gentle Warwick, let me embrace thee in my weary arms. I that did never weep, now melt with woe, that winter should cut off our springtime so.
Away, away! Once more, sweet lords, farewell.
Yet let us all together to our troops and give them leave to fly that will not stay, and call them pillars that will stand to us. And if we thrive, promise them such rewards as victors were at the Olympian Games. This may plant courage in their quailing breasts, for yet is hope of life and victory. For slow no longer, make we hence amain.
Exeunt excursions, enter Richard and Clifford.
Now, Clifford, I have singled thee alone. Suppose this arm is for the Duke of York, and this for Rutland, both bound to revenge, Wert thou environed with a brazen wall?
Now, Richard, I am with thee here alone. This is the hand that stabbed thy father York, and this the hand that slew thy brother Rutland. And here's the heart that triumphs in their death, and cheers these hands that slew thy sire and brother, to execute the like upon thyself, and so have at thee. They fight. Warwick comes. Clifford flies.
Nay, Warwick, single out some other chase, for I myself will hunt this wolf to death.
Exeunt. Alarums. Enter King Henry alone.
This battle fares like to the morning's war, when dying clouds contend with growing light. What time the shepherd, blowing of his nails, can neither call it perfect day nor night. Now sways it this way like a mighty sea, forced by the tide to combat with the wind. Now sways it that way, like the self-same sea, forced to retire by fury of the wind. Sometime the flood prevails, and then the wind, now one the better, then another best, both tugging to be victors breast to breast, yet neither conqueror nor conquered. So is the equal poise of this fell war. Here, on this molehill will I sit me down. To whom God will, there be the victory, for Margaret, my queen, and Clifford too, have chid me from the battle, swearing both they prosper best of all when I am thence. Would I were dead, if God's good will were so, for what is in this world but grief and woe? Oh, God, methinks it were a happy life to be no better than a homely swain, to sit upon a hill as I do now, to carve out dials quaintly, point by point, thereby to see the minutes how they run, how many makes the hour full complete, how many hours brings about the day, how many days will finish up the year, how many years a mortal man may live. When this is known, then to divide the times. So many hours must I tend my flock, so many hours must I take my rest, so many hours must I contemplate, so many hours must I sport myself. So many days my ewes have been with young, so many weeks ere the poor fools will eat, so many years ere I shall shear the fleece, so minutes, hours, days, months, and years, passed over to the end they were created, would bring white hairs unto a quiet grave. Ah, what a life were this! How sweet! How lovely! Gives not the hawthorn bush a sweeter shade to shepherds looking on their silly sheep than doth a rich embroidered canopy to kings that fear their subjects' treachery? Oh, yes, it doth, 1,000-fold it doth. And to conclude, the shepherd's homely curds, his cold thin drink out of his leather bottle, his wonted sleep under a fresh tree shade, all which secure and sweetly he enjoys is far beyond a prince's delicates. His viands sparkling in a golden cup, his body couched in a curious bed when care, mistrust, and treason waits on him.
Alarum. Enter a son that hath killed his father at one door, and a father that hath killed his son at another door.
Ill blows the wind that profits nobody. This man, whom hand to hand I slew in fight, may be possessed with some store of crowns, and I that happily take them from him now, may yet ere night yield both my life and them from man else, as this dead man doth me. Who's this? Oh God! It is my father's face, whom in this conflict I unawares have killed. Oh, heavy times, begetting such events! From London by the king was I pressed forth. My father, being the Earl of Warwick's man, came on the part of York, pressed by his master, and I who at his hands received my life. have by my hands of life bereaved him. Pardon me, God, I knew not what I did. And pardon, Father, for I knew not thee. My tears shall wipe away these bloody marks, and no more words, till they have flowed their fill.
Oh, piteous spectacle! Oh, bloody times! Whilst lions war in battle for their dens, poor harmless lambs abide their enmity. Weep, wretched man. I'll aid thee tear for tear, and let our hearts and eyes like civil war be blind with tears and break out charged with grief.
Enter a father bearing of his son. Thou that hath so stoutly hath resisted me, give me thy gold, if thou hast any gold, for I have brought it with 100 blows. But let me see, is this our foeman's face? Oh, no, 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 it is mine only son. Boy, if any life be left in thee, throw up thine eye, see what showers arise, blown with the windy tempest of my heart, upon thy wounds that kills mine eye and heart. Oh, pity God this miserable age. What stratagems, how fell, how butcherly, erroneous, mutinous, and unnatural this deadly quarrel daily doth beget. O boy, the Father gave thee life too soon, and hath bereft thee of thy life too late.
Woe above woe, grief more than common grief. Oh, that my death would stay these ruthful deeds. Oh, pity, pity, gentle heaven, pity! The red rose and the white are on his face, the fatal colours of our striving houses. The one his purple blood right well resembles, the other his pale cheeks methinks presenteth. Wither one rose and let the other flourish. If you contend, 1,000 lives must wither.
How will my mother, for father's death, take on with me, and ne'er be satisfied?
How will my wife, for slaughter of my son, shed seas of tears and ne'er be satisfied?
How will the country for these woeful chances misthink the king and not be satisfied?
Was ever son so rewarded a father's death?
Was ever father so bemoaned his son?
Was ever king so grieved for subjects' woe? Much is your sorrow, mine 10 times so much.
I'll bear thee hence where I may weep my fill.
These arms of mine shall be thy winding sheet. My heart, sweet boy, shall be thy sepulchre. For from my heart thine image ne'er shall go. My sighing breast shall be thy funeral bell. And so obsequious will thy father be, men for the loss of thee having no more. As Priam was for all his valiant sons, I'll bear thee hence, and let them fight that will. For I have murdered where I should not kill.
Sad-hearted men, much overgone with care, here sits a king more woeful than you are.
Alarums, excursions, enter the queen, the prince, and exeter. Fly, father, fly! For all your father friends are fled, and Warwick rages like a chafed bull. Away, for death doth hold us in pursuit.
Mount you, my lord, towards Bark post amain. Edward and Richard, like a brace of greyhounds, having the fearful flying hare in sight, with fiery eyes, sparkling for very wrath and bloody steel, grasped in their ireful hands, are at our backs, and therefore hence amain.
Away, for vengeance comes along with him. Nay, stay not to expostulate, make speed, or else come after, I'll away before.
Nay, take me with thee, good sweet Exeter, not that I fear to stay, but love to go whither the queen intends. Forward away.
Exeunt. Aloud alarum, enter Clifford wounded. Here burns my candle out, aye, here it dies, which while it lasted gave King Henry light. O Lancaster, I fear thy overthrow. More than my body's parting with my soul, my love and fear glowed my many friends to thee, and now I fall. Thy tough commixture melts, impairing Henry, strengthening misproud York. And whither fly the gnats but to the sun? And who shines now but Henry's enemies? O Phoebus, hadst thou never given consent that Phaeton should check thy fiery steeds, thy burning car had never had scorched the earth, and Henry, hadst thou swayed as kings should do, or as thy father and his father did, giving no ground unto the house of York, they never then had sprung like summer flies, aye, and 10,000 in his luckless realm, how had left no mourning widows for our death, and thou this day hadst kept thy chair in peace. For what doth cherish weeds but gentle air? And what makes robbers bold but too much lenity? Bootless are plaints and cureless are my wounds, no way to fly, no strength to hold out flight. The foe is merciless and will not pity, for at their hands I have deserved no pity. The air hath got into my deadly wounds, and much effuse of blood doth make me faint. Come, York and Richard Warwick and the rest, I stabbed your father's bosoms, split my breast. Alarum in retreat, enter Edward, Warwick, Richard, and soldiers, Montague and Clarence. Now breathe, we lords, good fortune bids us pause, and smooth the frowns of war with peaceful looks. Some troops pursue the bloody-minded queen that led calm Henry, though he were a king, as doth a sail filled with a fretting gust, commands an argosy to stem the waves. But think you, lords, that Clifford fled with them?
No, 'tis impossible he should escape. For though before his face I speak the words, your brother Richard marked him for the grave, and wheresoe'er he is, he's surely dead.
Clifford groans.
Whose soul is he that which takes her heavy leave? A deadly groan, like life and death's departing. See who it is.
And now the battle's ended. If friend or foe, let him be gently used.
Revoke that doom of mercy, for 'tis Clifford, who, not contented that he lopped the branch in hewing Rutland, when his leaves put forth, but set his murdering knife unto the root, from whence that tender spray did sweetly spring, I mean our princely father, Duke of York.
From off the gates of York, fetch down ye head, your father's head, which Clifford placed there. Instead whereof let this supply the room, measure for measure must be answered.
Bring forth that fatal screech owl to our house, that nothing sung but death to us and ours. Now death shall stop his dismal threatening sound, and his ill-boding tongue no more shall speak.
I think his understanding is bereft. Speak, Clifford, dost thou know who speaks to thee? Dark cloudy death o'ershades his beams of life, and he nor sees nor hears us what we say.
Oh, would he did, and so perhaps he doth. 'Tis but his policy to counterfeit, because he would avoid such bitter taunts, which in the time of death he gave our father.
If so thou think'st, vex him with eager words.
Clifford, ask mercy, and obtain no grace.
Clifford, repent in bootless penitence.
Clifford, devise excuses for thy faults.
While we devise fell tortures for thy faults.
Thou didst love York, and I am son to York.
Thou pitiest Rutland, I will pity thee.
Where's Captain Margaret to fence you now?
They mock thee, Clifford. Swear as thou wast wont.
What, not an oath? Nay, Then the world goes hard when Clifford cannot spare his friends an oath. I know by that he's dead. And by my soul, if this right hand would buy 2 hours' life, that I in all despite might rail at him, this hand should chop it off, and with the issuing blood stifle the villain whose unstaunch thirst York and Rung and young Rutland could not satisfy.
Aye, but he's dead. All for the traitor's head, and rear it in the place your father stands. And now to London with triumphant march, there to be crowned England's royal king. From whence shall Warwick cut the sea to France, and ask the Lady Bona for thy queen? So shalt thou sinnow both these lands together, and having France thy friend, thou shalt not dread the scattered foe that hopes to rise again. For though they cannot greatly sting to hurt, yet look to have them buzz to offend thine ears. First will I see the coronation, and then to Brittany I'll cross the sea to effect this marriage. So it please my lord.
Even as thou wilt, sweet Warwick, let it be. For in thy shoulder I do build my seat, and never will I undertake the thing wherein thy counsel and consent is wanting. Richard, I will create thee Duke of Gloucester, and George of Clarence. Warwick as ourself shall do, and to him as pleaseth best.
Let me be Duke of Clarence, George of Gloucester, for Gloucester's dukedom is too ominous.
But that's a foolish observation. Richard, be Duke of Gloucester. Now to London to see these honors in possession.
Exeunt. Enter Sinclair and Humphrey with crossbows in their hands.
Under this thick-grown brake, we'll shroud ourselves, for though this land anon the dower will come, and in this covert will we make us stand, culling the principle of all the deer.
I'll stay above the hill, so both may shoot.
That cannot be. The noise of thy crossbow will scare the herd, and so my shoot is lost. Here stand we both, and aim we at the best, and for the time shall not seem tedious, I'll tell thee what befell me on a day in this self-place where now we mean to stand. Here comes a man, let's stay till he be past.
Enter the king with the prayer book.
From Scotland am I stolen, even of pure love to greet mine own land with my wishful sight. No, Harry, 'tis no land of thine. Thy place is filled, thy sceptre wrung from thee, thy balm washed off wherewith thou wast anointed. No bending knee will call thee Caesar now, no humble suitors press to speak for right. No, not a man comes for redress of thee, for how can I help them, and not myself?
Here's a deer whose skin's a keeper's fee. This is the quondam king. Seize upon him.
Let me embrace the sour adversaries, for wise men say it is the wisest course.
Why linger we? Let us lay hands upon him.
They're wild, we'll hear a little more.
My queen and son are gone to France for aid, and as I hear the great commanding Warwick, I thither gone, to crave the French king's sister to wife for Edward. If this news be true, poor queen and son, your labor is but lost, for Warwick is a subtle orator, and Lewis a prince soon won with moving words. By this account then, Margaret may win him, for she's a woman to be pitied much. Her sighs will make a battery in his breast, her tears will pierce into a marble heart. The tiger will be mild while she doth mourn, and Nero will be tainted with remorse to hear and see her plaints, her brinish tears. Aye, but she's come to beg, Warwick to give. She on his left side craving aid for Henry, he on his right asking a wife for Edward. She weeps and says her Henry is deposed. He smiles and says his Edward is installed, that she, poor wretch, for grief can speak no more. Whiles Warwick tells his title, smooths the wrong, and ferreth arguments of mighty strength, and in conclusion wins the king from her with promise of his sister, and what else to strengthen and support King Edward's place. O Margaret, thus 'twill be, and thou, poor soul, art then forsaken as thou wentst forlorn.
Say, what art thou that talk'st of kings and queens?
More than I seem, and less than I was born to. A man at least, for less I should not be, and men may talk of kings, and why not I?
Aye, but thou talk'st as if thou wert a king.
Why, so I am, in mind, and that's enough.
But if thou be a king, where is thy crown?
My crown is in my heart, not on my head, not decked with diamonds and Indian stones, nor to be seen. My crown is called content. A crown it is that seldom kings enjoy.
Well, if thou you be a king crowned with content, your crown content, and you must be contented to go along with us. For as we think, you are the king King Edward hath deposed, and we, his subjects sworn in all allegiance, will apprehend you as his enemy.
But did you never swear and break an oath?
No, never such an oath, nor will not now.
Where did you dwell when I was king of England?
Here, in this country, where we now remain.
I was anointed king at 9 months old. My father and my grandfather were kings, and you were sworn true subjects unto me. And tell me then, have you not broke your oaths?
No, for we were subjects, but while you were king.
Why, am I dead? Do I not breathe a man? Ah, simple men, you know not what you swear. Look. As I blow this feather from my face, and as the air blows it to me again, obeying with my wind when I do blow, and yielding to another when it blows, commanded always by the greater gust, such is the likeness of you common men. But do not break your oaths, for of that sin my mild entreaty shall not make you guilty. Go where you will, the king shall be commanded. And be you kings, command, and I'll obey.
We are true subjects to the king, King Edward.
So would you be again to Henry if he was seated as King Edward is.
We charge you in God's name and the king's to go with us unto the offices.
In God's name lead, your king's name be obeyed, and what God will, that let your king perform. And what he will, I humbly yield unto.
Exeunt. Enter King Edward, Gloucester, Clarence, Lady Grey. Brother of Gloucester, at St. Albans Field, this lady's husband, Sir Richard Grey, was slain. His land then seized on by the Conqueror. Her suit is now to repossess those lands, which we in justice cannot well deny, because in quarrel of the House of York, the worthy gentleman did lose his life.
Your Highness shall do well to grant her suit. It were dishonor to deny it her.
It were no less. But yet I'll make a pause.
Yea, is it so? I see the lady hath a thing to grant, before the king will grant her humble suit.
He knows the game, how true he keeps the wind.
Silence.
Widow, we will consider of your suit, and some other time, and come some other time to know our mind.
Right gracious lord, I cannot brook delay. May it please your highness to resolve me now, and what your pleasure is shall satisfy me.
Aye, widow, then I'll warrant you all your lands, and what if what pleases him shall pleasure you? Fight closer, or good faith you'll catch a blow.
I fear her not unless she chance to fall.
God forbid that, for he'll take vantages.
How many children hast thou, widow? Tell me.
I think he means to beg a child of her.
Nay, then, Whitney, he'll rather give her 2.
3, my most gracious lord.
You shall have 4 if you'll be ruled by him.
'Twere pity they should lose their father's lands.
Be pitiful, dread lord, and grant it then.
Lords, give us leave. I'll try this widow's wit.
Aye, good leave have you, for you will have leave, till youth take leave and leave you to the crutch.
Now tell me, madam, do you love your children?
I, full as dearly as I love myself.
And would you not do much to do them good?
To do them good, I would sustain some harm.
And get your husband's lands to do them good?
Therefore I came unto your majesty.
Well, I'll tell you how these lands are to be got.
So shall you bind me to your highness' service.
What service wilt thou do me if I give them?
What you command, that rests in me to do.
That you will take exceptions to my boon.
No, gracious lord, except I cannot do it.
Aye, but thou canst do what I mean to ask.
Why then, I will do what your grace commands.
He plies her hard, and much rain wears the marble.
As red as fire, nay, then her wax must melt.
Why stops my lord? Shall I not hear my task?
An easy task. 'Tis but to love a king.
That's soon performed, because I am a subject.
Why then, thy husband's lands I freely give thee.
I take my leave with many thousand thanks.
The match is made. She seals it with a curtsy.
But stay thee, 'tis the fruits of love, I mean.
The fruits of love, I mean, my loving liege.
Aye, but I fear me in another sense. What love thinkest thou I sue so much to get?
My love till death, my humble thanks, my prayers, that love with which virtue begs and virtue grants.
No, by my troth, I did not mean such love.
Why then you mean not as I thought you did.
But now you partly may perceive my mind.
My mind will never grant what I perceive your highness aims at, if I aim right.
To tell thee plain, I aim to lie with thee.
To tell you plain, I had rather lie in prison.
Why? Then thou shalt not have thy husband's lands.
Why, then my honesty shall be my dower, for by that loss I will not purchase them.
Therein thou wrongst thy children mightily.
Herein your highness wrongs both them and me. But, mighty lord, this merry inclination accords not with the sadness of my suit. Please you dismiss me, either with aye or no.
Aye, if thou wilt say aye to my request, no, if thou dost say no to my demand.
Then no, my lord. My suit is at an end.
Oh, the widow likes him not. She knits her brows. He is the bluntest wooer in Christendom.
Her looks do argue her replete with modesty. Her words do show her wit incomparable. All her perfections challenge sovereignty. One way or other, she is for a king. And she shall be my love, or else my queen. Say that King Edward take thee for his queen.
'Tis better said than done, my gracious lord. I am a subject fit to jest withal, but far unfit to be a sovereign.
Sweet widow, by my state I swear to thee, I speak no more than what my soul intends, and that is to enjoy thee for my love.
And that is more than I will yield unto. I know I am too mean to be your queen, and yet too good to be your concubine.
You cavil, widow. I did mean my queen.
Will grieve your grace, my son should call you father.
No more than when my daughters call thee mother. Thou art a widow, and thou hast some children, and by God's mother, I being but a bachelor, have other some. Why, 'tis a happy thing to be the father unto many sons. Answer no more, for thou shalt be my queen.
The ghostly father now hath done his shrift.
When he was made a shriver, 'twas for shift.
Brothers, you muse what chat we two have had.
The widow likes it not, for she looks very sad.
You'd think it strange if I should marry her?
To who, my lord?
Why, Clarence, to myself.
Why, that would be 10 days' wonder at the least.
That's a day longer than a wonder lasts.
By so much as the wonder in extremes.
Well, just on, brothers, I can tell you both. Her suit is granted for her husband's lands. Enter a nobleman.
My gracious lord, Henry your foe is taken, and brought your prisoner to your palace gate.
Ah, see that he is conveyed unto the tower, and go we, brothers, to the man that took him, to question of his apprehension. Widows, go you along. Lords, use her honorable. Yes.
Aye, Edward will use women honorably. Would he were wasted, marrow, bones, and all, that from his loins no hopeful branch may spring, to cross me from the golden time I'd look for. And yet, between my soul's desire and me, the lustful Edward's title buried is Clarence, Henry, and his son young Edward, and all the unlooked-for issue of their bodies, to take their rooms ere I can place myself. A cold premeditation for my purpose. What then I do but dream on sovereignty, like one that stands upon a promontory and spies a far-off shore where he would tread, wishing his foot were equal with his eye, and chides the sea that sunders him from thence, saying he'll lade it dry to have his way. So do I wish the crown, being so far off, and so I chide the means that keeps me from it. And so I say, I'll cut the causes off, flattering me with impossibilities. My eyes too quick, my heart all weens too much, unless my hand and strength could equal them. Well, say there is no kingdom then for Richard. What other pleasure can the world afford? I'll make my heaven in a lady's lap, and deck my body in gay ornaments, and witch sweet ladies with my words and looks. Oh, miserable thought, and more unlikely than to accomplish 20 golden crowns. Oh, I love forswore me in my mother's womb, and for I should not deal in her soft laws, she did corrupt frail nature with some bribe. To shrink mine arm up like a withered shrub, to make an envious mountain on my back, where sits deformity to mock my body, to shape my legs of an unequal size, to disproportion me in every part, like to a chaos or an unlicked bear whelp that carries no impression like the dam. And am I then a man to be beloved? Oh, monstrous fault, to harbor such a thought! Then since this earth affords no joy to me, but to command, to check, to o'erbear such as are of better person than myself, I'll make my heaven to dream upon the crown. And whiles I live, to account this world but hell, until my misshaped trunk that bears this head be around impaled with a glorious crown. And yet I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home, and I like one lost in a thorny wood that rents the thorns and is rent pierced with the thorns, seeking a way and straying from the way, not knowing how to find the open air, but toiling desperately to find it out, torment myself to catch the English crown. And from that torment I will free myself, or hew my way out with a bloody axe. Where I can smile and murder whiles I smile, and cry content to that which grieves my heart, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face to all occasions. I'll drown more sailors than the mermaid shall. I'll slay more gazers than the basilisk. I'll play the orator as well as Nestor, deceive more slyly than Ulysses could, and like a Sinon take another Troy. I can add colours to the chameleon, change shapes with Proteus for advantages, and set the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do this, and cannot get a crown? Tut! Were it farther off, I'll pluck it down.
Exit. And let's just, I want to just take a little 5-minute sort of pause here, just so that we can go over and possibly assign some more of the roles still remaining, so I don't do them all. So I'm sorry if I seem to be hogging them a lot in the first. I just sort of, want to keep it going, because I think you're all doing a great job. Thank you so much. And it's like, there is the rhythm that when you get into the rhythm that you want to keep it moving along.
I'll take some because I have hardly none now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Because I was thinking, yeah. Well, because so it's like we don't even have a French king yet. So yeah.
Well, how many people do we have for tomorrow?
I've got. I think I don't know. It's about 6 or 7, but it's the Tempest, So
okay,
we'll do that.
good.
And when we're doing a different sort of thing, I decided to try and sort of do a little hybrid thing at the beginning where we do like a Zoom thing there in person, and then we will do just sort of because we're sort of celebrating getting back into the Jefferson Market again now that their hours are expanded again, and celebrating our 25th season, and then we'll do a reading of the Tempest with those who are there in masks. So.
Oh yeah, on a Sunday, that is.
Yeah. No, that's Jefferson Market was one of the few library branches that was open on Sundays.
Oh well.
So, but
Didn't know about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we'll take a 5-minute break. It's 2:50 now.
Yeah, so about 2:55. But let me just and I want to sort of see what else I can give to people. Okay. Yeah, I think actually, Bernie, there's not too much I could give to you because
Okay.
we got a lot.
Got a lot of work.
Gloucester is a big mover and shaker in this part. I think that when
Yeah, he has some good lines here. Yeah.
when I think when the Royal Shakespeare Company did it and they took like the 3 Henry VI plays and Richard III and did it as a 3-part thing, they called the first play Henry VI, the second play Edward IV, and then the third, obviously, Richard III. Okay, and obviously Margaret's got a lot to do in this scene as well. Let me just look at the thing. Why don't you stay in sort of kingly mode and you can be the King of France.
Okay.
Jackie, you can be Lady Bona. And I'll try and put together, while we've got our few minutes here, while I just put together a revised cast list as to what I think we can do and let you guys know what more to throw at you. Although, let me see.
Oh, so this king, it's done like a Frenchman, turn and turn again.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, very much. I mean, it's like with the French, it sort of makes sense, you know. I'll keep going as Prince Edward, who's, since I'm playing the other Edward, might as well play this one. Let's see, we've got. Wow, there's a whole bunch of them. Okay, Bona. Let's see. Okay. So. Just trying to figure out what are the big parts. So yeah, if Jackie takes Bona, and then I think we've got it. Let me see. And then okay, and you're still. Okay, so Ken, you're going to do the French King, and Clarence, and um, I guess just, I mean, ready to be, I mean, because Warwick also has a lot of things to do, but in some of the scenes where he's not, if Kitty, if you want to jump in, I'm just trying to think of what other, there's a whole bunch of people, the Earls, all of these, Somerset, Somerville, I'm just sort of taking as they come, I guess. Okay, it's 2:55 again. So everybody, let me just almost got this ready to go. All right, well, this is what I've got. I just want to post in the chat what I've got for the revived things, and we'll just sort of pick up what we want to. Did anybody? All righty then. So let me just. So Jackie, you know your Bona, and Ken is the king of the French king, Louis the French king, and Margaret, who's also her prefix. She's been demoted from queen to Margaret now. So it's interesting the way they change, where it's like Edward was Edward and then king, and now.
King, yes.
So, all right, so we've got Jackie, Ken, and we've got everybody ready.
Uh-huh.
Kenny, there, you ready to go?
Yes, I'm here. Whenever
Okay.
you're ready to begin.
We're on page 78 now, right?
Yep, top of 78.
Okay.
Flourish. Enter the French king, his sister Bona, his admiral called Bourbon, Prince Edward, Queen Margaret, and the Earl of Oxford. Louis sits and riseth up again.
Fair Queen of England, worthy Margaret, sit down with us. It ill befits thy state and birth that thou shouldst stand while Louis doth sit.
No, mighty King of France, now Margaret must strike her sail and learn a while to serve where kings command. I was, I must confess, great Albion's queen in former golden days, but now mischance hath trod my title down, and with this dishonor laid me on the ground, where I must take like seat unto my fortune, and to my humble seat form myself.
Why say, fair queen, whence springs this deep despair?
From such a cause as fills mine eyes with tears and stops my tongue, while heart is drowned in cares.
Whate'er it be thou still like thyself, and sit thee by our side. Yield not thy neck to fortune's yoke, but let thy dauntless mind still ride in triumph over all mischance. Be plain, Queen Margaret, and tell thy grief. It shall be eased if France can yield relief.
Those gracious words revive my drooping thoughts, and give my tongue-tied sorrows leave to speak. Now therefore be it known to noble Lewis, that Henry, sole possessor of my love, is of a king become a banished man, and forced to live in Scotland a forlorn, while proud ambitious Edward, Duke of York, usurps the regal title, and the seat of England's true anointed lawful king. This is the cause that I, poor Margaret, with this my son, Prince Edward, Henry's heir, am come to crave thy just and lawful aid. If thou fail us, all our hope is done. Scotland hath will to help, but cannot help. Our people and our peers are both misled, our treasure seized, our soldiers put to fight, and, as thou seest, ourselves in heavy plight.
Renowned queen, with patience calm the storm, while we bethink a means to break it off.
The more we stay, the stronger grows our foe.
The more I stay, the more I'll succor thee.
Oh, but impatience waiteth on true sorrow, and see where comes the breeder of my sorrow.
Enter Warwick.
What sea approacheth boldly to our presence?
Our Earl of Warwick, Edward's greatest friend.
Welcome, brave Warwick. What brings thee to France?
He descends, she ariseth.
Aye, now begins a second storm to rise, for this is he that moves both wind and tide.
From worthy Edward, King of Albion, my lord and sovereign, and thy vowed friend, I come in kindness and unfeigned love, first to do greetings to thy royal person, and then to crave a league of amity, and lastly to confirm that amity with nuptial knot, if thou vouchsafe to grant that virtuous Lady Bona, thy fair sister, to England's king in lawful marriage.
That go forward, Henry's hope is done.
And gracious madam, in our king's behalf, I am commanded, with your leave and favor, humbly to kiss your hand, and with my tongue to tell the passion of my sovereign's heart, where fame, late entering at his heedful ears, hath placed thy beauty's image and thy virtue.
King Louis and Lady Bona, hear me speak before you answer Warwick. His demand springs not from Edward's well-meant honest love, but from deceit bred by necessity. For how can tyrants safely govern home unless abroad they purchase great alliance? To prove him tyrant, this reason may suffice, that Henry liveth still, but were he dead, yet here Prince Edward stands, King Henry's son. Look therefore, Louis, that by this league and marriage thou draw not on thy danger and dishonor, for though usurpers sway the rule a while, yet heavens are just, and time suppresseth wrongs.
Injurious Margaret,
And why not queen?
And why not queen?
because thy father Henry did usurp, and thou no more art prince than she is queen.
Then Warwick disannuls great John of Gaunt, which did subdue the greatest part of Spain, and after John of Gaunt, Henry the Fourth, whose wisdom was a mirror to the wisest, and after that wise Prince Henry the Fifth, who by his prowess conquered all France, and these our Henry lineally descends.
Oxford, how haps it in this smooth discourse you told not how Henry the Sixth hath lost all that which Henry V had gotten. Methinks these peers of France should smile at that. But for the rest, you tell a pedigree of 62 years, a silly time to make prescription for a kingdom's worth.
Why, Warwick, canst thou speak against thy liege, whom thou obeyedst 36 years, and not bewray thy treason with a blush?
Can Oxford, that did ever fence the right, now buckler falsehood with a pedigree? For shame, Henry, and call Edward king.
Call him my king, by whose injurious doom my elder brother, the Lord Aubrey Vere, was done to death, and more than so my father, even in the downfall of his mellowed years, when nature brought him to the door of death. No, Warwick, no. While life upholds this arm upholds the house of Lancaster.
And I, the house of York.
Queen Margaret, Prince Edward, and Oxford, vouchsafe at our request to stand aside while I use further conference with Warwick.
They stand aloof.
Heavens grant that Warwick's words bewitch him not.
Now, Warwick, tell me, even upon thy conscience, is Edward your true king? For I were loath to link with him that were not lawful chosen.
Thereon I pawn my credit and mine honor.
But is he gracious in the people's eye?
The more that Henry was unfortunate.
Then further, all dissembling set aside, tell me for truth the measure of his love unto our sister Bona.
Such it seems as may beseem a monarch like himself. Myself have often heard him say and swear that this his love was an external plant, where the root was fixed in virtue's ground, the leaves and fruit maintained with beauty's sun, exempt from envy, but not from disdain, unless the Lady Bona quit his pain.
Now, sister, let us hear your firm resolve.
Your grant or your denial shall be mine. Yet I confess that often ere this day, when I have heard your king's desert recounted, mine ear hath tempted judgment to desire.
Then, Warwick, thus, our sister shall be Edward's, and now forthwith shall articles be drawn touching the jointure that your king must make, which with her dowry shall be counterpoised. Draw near, Queen Margaret, and be a witness that Bona shall be wife to the English king. To Edward, but not to the English king.
Deceitful Warwick, it was thy device by this alliance to make void my suit. Before thy coming, Lewis and was Henry's friend.
And still is friend to him and Margaret. But if your title to the crown be weak, as may appear by Edward's good success, then 'tis but reason that I be released from giving aid which late I promised. Yet shall you have all kindness at my hands that your estate requires and mine can yield.
Henry now lives in Scotland as his ease, for having nothing, nothing can he lose. And as for you yourself, our quondam queen, you have a father able to maintain you, and better 'twere you troubled him than France.
Peace, impudent and shameless Warwick, proud setter up and puller down of kings. I will not hence, till with my talk and tears, both full of truth, I make King Lewis behold thy sly conveyance, and with thy lord's false love.
Post blowing a horn within.
For both of you are birds of self-same feather.
Warwick, this is some post to us, or thee.
My Lord Ambassador, these letters are for you, sent from your baron brother Marquis of Montague, and these from the king unto your majesty, and madam, these for you, from whom I know not. They all read their letters. I like it well that our fair queen and mistress smiles at her news, while Warwick frowns at his. Nay, mark how Lewis stamps as he were nettled. I hope all's for the best.
Warwick, what are thy news, and yours, fair queen?
Mine such as fill my heart with unhoped joys.
Mine full of sorrow and heart's discontent.
What, has your king married the Lady Grey? And now to soothe your forgery and his, sends me a paper to persuade me patience. Is this the alliance that he seeks with France? Dare he presume to scorn us in this manner?
I told your majesty as much before. This proveth Edward's love and Warwick's honesty.
King Louis, I here protest in sight of heaven, and by the hope I have of heavenly bliss, that I am clear from this misdeed of Edward's. No more my king, for he dishonors me, but most himself, if he could see his shame. Did I forget that by the house of York my father came untimely to his death? Did I let pass the abuse done to my niece? Did I impale him with a regal crown? Did I put Henry from his native right? Am I guerdoned at the last with shame? Shame on my son himself, for my desert is honor. And to repair my honor lost for him, I here renounce him and return to Henry. My noble queen, let former grudges pass, then henceforth I am thy true servitor. I will revenge his wrong to Lady Bona and replant Henry in his former state.
Warwick, these words have turned my hate to love, and I forgive and quite forget old faults and joy that thou hast become as King Henry's friend.
So much his friend I, his unfeigned friend, that if King Louis vouchsafe to furnish us with some few bands of chosen soldiers, I'll undertake to land them on our coast and force the tyrant from his seat by war. 'Tis not his new-made bride shall succor him. As for Clarence, as my letters tell me, he's very likely now to fall from him, for matching more for wanton lust than honor, or than for strength and safety of our country.
Oh, dear brother, how shall Bono be revenged? But by the help to this distressed queen.
Renowned prince, how shall poor Henry live unless thou rescue him from foul despair?
My quarrel and this English queen's are one.
And mine, fair Lady Bona, joins with yours.
And mine with hers, and thine and Margaret's. Therefore at last I firmly am resolved you shall have aid.
Let me give humble thanks for all at once.
Then, England's messenger, return in post and tell false Edward, thy supposed king, that Louis of France is sending over maskers to revel it with him and his new bride. Thou seest what's past. Go fear thy king withal.
Tell him, in hope he'll prove a widower shortly, I wear the willow garland for his sake.
Tell him my mourning weeds are laid aside, and I am ready to put armor.
Tell him for me that he hath done me wrong, and therefore I'll uncrown him ere it be long. There's thy reward. Begone.
What, Warwick, thou and Oxford with 5,000 men shall cross the seas and bid false Edward battle. And as occasion serves, this noble queen and prince shall follow with a fresh supply. Yet ere thou go, but answer me one doubt, what pledge have we of thy firm loyalty?
This shall assure my constant loyalty, that if our queen and this young prince agree, I'll join mine eldest daughter and my joy to him forthwith in holy wedlock bands.
Yes, I agree, and thank you for your motion. Son Edward, she is fair and virtuous, therefore delay not. Give thy hand to Warwick, and with thy hand thy faith irrevocable, that one Warwick's daughter shall be thine.
Yes, I accept her, for she well deserves it, and here to pledge my vow, I give my hand. He gives his hand to Warwick.
Why stay we now? These soldiers shall be levied, and thou, Lord Bourbon, our high admiral, shall waft them over with our royal fleet. I long till Edward fall by war's mischance for mocking marriage with a dame of France.
Exeunt Mane Warwick.
I came from Edward as ambassador, but I return his sworn and mortal foe. Matter of marriage was the charge he gave me, but dreadful war shall answer his demand. Had he none else to make a stale but me? Then none but I shall turn his jest to sorrow. I was the chief that raised him to the crown, and I'll be chief to bring him down again. Not that I pity Henry's misery, but seek revenge on Edward's mockery.
Exit. Enter Richard, Clarence, Somerset, and Montague.
Now tell me, brother Clarence, what think you of this new marriage with the Lady Grey? Hath not our brother made a worthy choice?
Alas, you know 'tis far from hence to France. How could he stay till Warwick made return?
Now, my lords, forbear this talk. Here comes the king. Flourish. Enter King Edward, Lady Grey, Pembroke, Stafford, Hastings, 4 stand on one side and 4 on the other.
And his well-chosen bride.
I mind to tell him plainly what I think.
Now, brother of Clarence, how like you our choice, that you stand pensive as half malcontent?
As well as Lewis of France or the Earl of Warwick, which are so weak of courage and in judgment that they'll take no offence at our abuse.
Suppose they take offence without a cause. They are but Lewis and Warwick. I am Edward, your king and Warwick's, and must have my will.
And shall have your will, because our king. Yet hasty marriage seldom proveth well.
Yea, brother Richard, are you offended too?
Not I, no. God forbid that I should wish them severed, whom God hath joined together. Aye, and 'twere pity to sunder them, that yoke so well together.
Setting your scorns and your mislike aside, tell me some reason why the Lady Grey should not become my wife and England's queen. And you too, Somerset and Montague, speak freely what you think.
Then this is my opinion, that King Louis becomes your enemy for mocking him about the marriage of the Lady Bona.
And Warwick, doing what you gave in charge, is now dishonored by this new marriage.
What if both Lewis and Warwick be appeased by such invention as I can devise?
Yet to have joined with France in such an alliance would more have strengthened this our commonwealth against foreign storms than any homebred marriage.
Why, knows not Montague that of itself England is safe, if true, within itself?
But the safer when 'tis back with France.
'Tis better using France than trusting France. Let us be backed with God and with the sea, which hath given for fence impregnable, and with their helps only defend ourselves. In them and in ourselves our safety lies.
For this one speech Lord Hastings well deserves to have the heir of the Lord Hungerford.
Aye, what of that? It was my will and grant, and for this once my will shall stand for law.
And yet methinks your grace hath not done well to give the heir and daughter of the Lord Scales unto the brother of your loving bride. She better would have fitted me, or Clarence. But in your bride you bury brotherhood.
Or else you would not bestow the heir of the Lord Bonville on your new wife's son, and leave your brothers to go speed elsewhere.
Alas, poor Clarence, is it for a wife that thou art malcontent? I will provide thee.
In choosing for yourself you showed your judgment, which being shallow, you shall give me leave to play the broker in mine own behalf, and for that end I shall be mine to leave you.
Leave me or tarry, Edward will be king, and not be tied unto his brother's will.
My lords, before it pleased his majesty to raise my
Lady
state
Grey?
to title of a queen, do me but right, and you must all confess that I was not ignoble of descent, and meaner than myself have had like fortune. But as this title honors me and mine, So your dislikes to whom I would be pleasing doth cloud my joys with danger and with sorrow.
My love, forbear to fawn upon their frowns. What danger or what sorrow can befall thee, so long as Edward is thy constant friend, and their true sovereign, whom they must obey? Nay, whom they shall obey, and love thee too, unless they seek for hatred at my hands, which if they do, yet will I keep thee safe, and they shall feel the vengeance of my wrath.
I hear, yet say not much, but think the more.
Enter a post. Now, messenger, what letters or what news from France? My sovereign.
liege, you gave me that. My sovereign liege, no letters and few words, but such as I, without your special pardon, dare not relate.
Go to, we pardon thee. Therefore, in brief, tell me their words, as near as thou canst guess them. What answer makes King Louis unto our letters?
At my depart, these were his very words. Go tell false Edward, the supposed king, that Louis of France is sending over maskers to revel it with him and his new bride.
This Louis so brave, belike he thinks me Henry. But what says Lady Bona to my marriage?
These were her words, uttered with a mild disdain. Tell him in hope he'll prove a widower shortly. I'll wear a willow garland for his sake.
I blame not her. She could say little else. She had the wrong. What said Henry's queen? For I have heard that she was there in place.
Tell him, quoth he, my mourning weeds are done, and I am ready to put armor on.
Belike she minds to play the Amazon. But what said Warwick to these injuries?
He more incensed against your majesty than all the rest discharged me with these words. Tell him from me that he hath done me wrong, and therefore I'll uncrown him ere be long.
Ha! Durst the traitor breathe out so proud words? Well, I will arm me, being thus forewarned. They shall have wars and pay for their presumption. But say, is Warwick friends with Margaret?
Aye, gracious sovereign, they are so linked in friendship that young Prince Edward marries Warwick's daughter.
Belike the elder, Clarence will have the younger. Now, brother king, farewell, and sit you fast, for I will hence to Warwick's other daughter, that though I want a kingdom, yet in marriage I may not prove inferior to yourself. You that love me in Warwick, follow me.
Exit Clarence and Somerset follows.
Not I. My thoughts aim at a further matter. I stay not for the love of Edward, but the crown.
Clarence and Somerset both gone to Warwick. Yet am I armed against the worst can happen, and haste is needful in this desperate case. Pembroke and Stafford, you in our behalf go levy men and make prepare for war. They are all ready, or quickly will be landed. Myself in person will straight follow you. Exit Pembroke and Stafford. Ere I go, Hastings and Montague, resolve my doubt. You twain, of all the rest, are near to Warwick, by blood and by alliance. Tell me, if you love Warwick more than me. If it be so, then both depart to him. I rather wish you foes than hollow friends. But if you make mine to hold your true obedience, give me assurance with some friendly vow, that I may never have you in suspect.
So God help Montague as he proves true.
And
And Hastings as he favors Edward's cause.
now, brother Richard, will you stand by us?
I, in despite of all, that shall withstand you.
Why, so then am I sure of victory. Now, therefore, let us hence, and lose no hour, till we meet Warwick with his foreign power. Exeunt. Enter Warwick and Oxford in England with French soldiers.
Trust me, my lord, all hitherto goes well. The common people by numbers swarm to us.
Enter Clarence and Somerset.
Let's see where Somerset and Clarence comes. Speak suddenly, my lords. Are we all friends?
Fear not that, my lord.
Then, gentle Clarence, welcome unto Warwick. and welcome, Somerset. I hold it cowardice to rest mistrustful where a noble heart hath pawned an open hand in sign of love. Else might I think that Clarence, Edward's brother, were but a feigned friend to our proceedings. But welcome, sweet Clarence, my daughter shall be thine. And now what rests? But in night's coverture, thy brother being carelessly encamped, his soldiers lurking in the town about, and but attended by a simple guard, we may surprise and take him at our pleasure. Our scouts have found the adventure very easy. Then, as Ulysses and stout Diomede, with sleight and manhood stole to Rhesus' tents, and brought from thence the Thracian fatal steeds, so we, well covered with a knight's black mantle, at unawares may beat down Edward's guard and seize himself. I say not slaughter him, for I intend but only to surprise him. That you will follow me to this attempt, applaud the name of Henry with your leader.
They all cry, Henry!
Henry!
Why then, let's on our way in silent sort. For Warwick and his friends, God and St. George.
Exeunt. Enter 3 watchmen to guard the king's tent.
Come on, my man.
Masters, each man take his stand. The king by this is set him down to sleep.
What? Will he not to bed?
Why no, for he hath made a solemn vow never to lie and take his natural rest till Warwick or himself be quite suppressed.
Tomorrow then belike shall be the day, if Warwick be so near as men report.
But say, I pray, what noble man is that with the king here resteth in his tent?
'Tis the Lord Hastings, the king's chiefest friend.
Oh, is it so? But why commands the king that his chief followers lodge in towns about him, while he himself keeps in the cold field?
'Tis the more honor, because more dangerous.
Aye, but give me worship and quietness. I like it better than a dangerous honor. If Warwick knew in what estate he stands, 'tis to be doubted if he would waken him.
Unless our Hilberts shut up his passage.
Aye, wherefore else guard we his royal tent, but to defend his person from night foes?
Enter Warwick, Clarence, Oxford, Somerset, and French soldiers, silent all.
This is his tent, and see where stands his guard. Courage, my masters, honor now or never. But follow me, and Edward shall be ours.
Who goes there?
Stay or thou diest.
Warwick and all the rest cry, Warwick, Warwick, and set upon the guard who fly, crying, Arm, arm, Warwick, and the rest following. The drum playing and trumpet sounding, enter Warwick, Somerset, and the rest, bringing King out in his gown, sitting in a chair. Richard and Hastings fly over the stage. What are they that fly there?
Richard and Hastings, let them go. Here is the Duke.
The Duke? Why, Warwick, when we parted, thou calledst me king.
Aye, but the case is altered. When you disgraced me in my ambassade, then I degraded you from being king, and come now to create you Duke of York. Alas, how should you govern any kingdom that know not how to use ambassadors, nor how to be contented with one wife, nor how to use your brothers brotherly, nor how to study for the people's welfare, or how to enshroud yourself from enemies?
Yea, brother of Clarence, art thou here too? Nay, I see that Edward needs must down. Yet Warwick, in despite of all mischance, of thee, thyself, and all thy complices, Edward will always bear himself as king. Though fortune's malice overthrow my state, my mind exceeds the compass of her wheel.
Then for his mind be Edward England's king.
Takes off his crown.
But Henry now shall wear the English crown, and be true king indeed. Thou but the shadow. My lord of Somerset, at my request, see that forthwith King Edward be conveyed unto my brother Archbishop of York. When I have fought with Pembroke, and his fellows, I'll follow you and tell what answer Lewis and his lady Bona send to him. Now, for a while, farewell, good Duke of York.
They lead him out forcibly. What fates impose, that men must needs abide. It boots not to resist both wind and tide. Exeunt. What now remains, my lord, for us to do but march to London with our soldiers?
Aye, that's the first thing that we have to do, to free King Henry from imprisonment and see him seated in the regal throne.
Exit. Enter Rivers and Lady Grey.
Lady Grey.
Madam, what makes you at this sudden charge?
My brother Rivers, are you yet to learn what late misfortune has befallen our King Edward?
What loss of some pitched battle against Warwick?
No, but the loss of his own royal person.
Then is my sovereign slain?
I almost slain, for he is taken prisoner, either betrayed by falsehood of his guard or by his foe surprised at unawares. And as I further have to understand, is new committed to the Bishop of York, fell Warwick's brother, and by that our foe.
These news, I must confess, are full of grief. Yet, gracious madam, bear it as you may. Warwick may lose, that now hath won the day.
Till then, fair hope must hinder lives' decay, and I the rather wane me from despair for love of Edward's offspring in my womb. This is it that makes me bridle passion, and bear with a mildness my misfortune's cross. Aye, for this I draw in many a tear, and stop the rising blood-suckling sighs. Least with my sighs or tears, I blast or drown King Edward's fruit, true heir to the English crown.
But, madam, where is Warwick then become?
I am informed that he comes toward London to set the crown once more on Henry's head. Guess thou the rest. King Edward's friends must down, but to prevent the tyrant's violence, or trust not him that hath once broken faith, I'll henceforth into the sanctuary, to save at least the heir of Edward's right. There shall I rest secure from force and fraud. Come, therefore, let us fly while we may fly. If Warwick take us, we are sure to die.
Exeunt. Enter Richard, Lord Hastings, and Sir William Stanley.
Now, my Lord Hastings and Sir William Stanley, leave off to wonder why I drew you hither into this chiefest thicket of the park. Thus stand the case. You know our king, my brother, is prisoner to the bishop here, at whose hands he hath good usage and great liberty, and often but attended with weak guard. Come hunting this way to disport himself. I have advertised him by secret means, that if about this hour he make this way, under the colour of his usual game, he shall here find his friends, with horse and men, to set him free from his captivity.
Enter King Edward and a huntsman with him.
This way, my lord, for this way lies the game.
Nay, this way, man. See where the huntsmen stand. Now, brother of Gloucester, Lord Hastings, and the rest, stand you thus close to steal the bishop's deer?
Brother, the time and case requireth hast. Your horse stands ready at the park corner.
But whither shall we then?
To Lynn, my lord, and ship from thence to Flanders.
Well, guest, believe me, for that was my meaning.
Stanley, I will requite thy forwardness.
But wherefore stay we? 'Tis no time to talk.
Huntsman, what sayest thou? Wilt thou go along?
Oh, better do so than tarry and be hanged.
Come then away, let's ha no more. Adieu.
Bishop, farewell. Shield thee from Warwick's frown, and pray that I may repossess the crown. Exeunt. Flourish, enter King Henry VI, Clarence, Warwick, Somerset, young Henry, Oxford, Montague, and Lieutenant.
Master Lieutenant, now that God and friends have shaken Edward from the regal seat and turned my captive state to liberty, my fear to hope, my sorrows unto joys. At our enlargement, what are thy due fees?
Subjects may challenge nothing of their sovereigns, but if an humble prayer may prevail, I then crave pardon of your majesty.
For what, lieutenant? For well using me? Nay, be thou sure I'll well requite thy kindness, for that it made my imprisonment a pleasure, aye, such a pleasure as encaged birds conceive, when after many moody thoughts, at last by notes of household harmony, they quite forget their loss of liberty. But Warwick, after God thou sett'st me free, and chiefly therefore I thank God and thee. He was the author, thou the instrument. Therefore, that I may conquer fortune's spite by living low where fortune cannot hurt me, and that the people of this blessed land may not be punished with my thwarting stars, Warwick, although my head still wear the crown, I here resign my government to thee, for thou art fortunate in all thy deeds.
Your grace hath still been famed for virtuous, and now may seem as wise as virtuous, by spying and avoiding fortune's malice, for few men rightly temper with the stars. Yet in this one thing let me blame your grace for choosing me when Clarence is in place.
No, Warwick, thou art worthy of the sway, to whom the heavens in thy nativity are judged an olive branch and laurel crown, as likely to be blessed in peace and war, and therefore I yield thee my free consent.
And I choose Clarence only for protector.
Warwick and Clarence, give me both your hands. Now join your hands, and with your hands your hearts, that no dissension hinder government. I make you both protectors of this land, while I myself will lead a private life, and to devotion spend my latter days, to sin's rebuke and my Creator's praise.
What answers Clarence to his sovereign's will?
That he consents, if Warwick yield consents, for on thy fortune I repose myself.
Why then, though loath, yet must I be content. We'll yoke together, like a double shadow to Henry's body, and supply his place. I mean, in bearing weight of government while he enjoys the honor and his ease. Now, and Clarence, now then it is more than needful, forthwith Edward be pronounced a traitor, and all his lands and goods confiscate.
What else? And that succession be determined.
Aye, therein Clarence shall not want his part.
But with the first of all your chief affairs, let me entreat, for I command no more, that Margaret, your queen, and my son Edward be sent for to return from France with speed. For till I see them here, by doubtful fear, my joy of liberty is half eclipsed. It shall be done, my sovereign, with all speed. My lord of Somerset, what youth is that, of whom you seem to have so tender care?
My liege, it is young Henry, Earl of Richmond.
Come hither, England's hope.
Lays his hands on his head.
If secret power suggest but truth to my divining thoughts, this pretty lad will prove our country's bliss. His looks are full of peaceful majesty, his head by nature framed to wear a crown, his hand to wield a sceptre, and himself likely in time to bless a regal throne. Make much of him, my lords, for this is he must help you more than you are hurt by me.
What news, my friend? Go ahead, sorry.
What
Well,
news, my friend?
that Edward is escaped from your brother and fled, as he hears since, to Burgundy.
Oh, unsavory news. But how may he escape?
He was conveyed by Richard, Duke of Gloucester, and the Lord Hastings, who attended him, in secret ambush on the forest side, and from the bishop's huntsmen rescued him, for hunting was his daily exercise.
My brother was too careless of his charge. But let us hence, my sovereign, to provide a salve for any sore that may be tied.
Exeunt. Man at Somerset, Richmond, and Oxford. My lord, I like not this flight of Edward's, for doubtless Burgundy will yield him help, and we shall have more wars before it be long, as Henry's late presaging prophecy did glad my heart with hope of this young Richmond. So doth my heart misgive me in these conflicts what may befall him through his harm and arms. Therefore, Lord Oxford, to prevent the worst, forthwith will send him hence to Brittany, till storms be past of civil enmity. Ay, for if Edward repossess the crown, 'tis like that Richmond with the rest shall be down. It shall be so, he shall to Brittany. Come therefore, let's about it speedily. Exeunt, flourish, enter, Edward, Richard, Hastings, and soldiers. Now, brother Richard, Lord Hastings, and the rest. Yes, thus far fortune maketh us amends, and says that once more I shall interchange my waned state for Henry's regal crown. Well, well have we passed and now repassed the seas, and brought desired help from Burgundy, and then remains we being thus arrived from Ravenspur haven before the gates of York, but that we enter as into our dukedom.
The gates made fast? Brother, I like not this. For many men that stumble at the threshold are well foretold that danger lurks within.
Tush, man, abodements must not now affright us. By fair or foul means we must enter in, for hither will our friends repair to us.
My liege, you have somebody, go ahead. My liege, I'll knock once more to summon them.
Enter on the walls the mayor of York and his brethren.
My lords, we were forewarned of your coming, and shut the gates for safety of ourselves, for now we owe allegiance unto Henry.
But Master Mayor, if Henry be your king, yet Edward at the least is Duke of York.
True, my good lord, I know you for no less.
Why, I challenge nothing but my dukedom, as well being content with that alone.
But when the fox hath once got in his nose, he'll soon find means to make the body follow.
Why, Master Mayor, why stand you in doubt? Open the gates, we are King Henry's friends.
Aye, say you so? The gate shall then be opened.
Why, stout captain, and soon persuaded.
The good old man would fain that all were welcome, so 'twere not long of him. But being entered, I doubt not I, but we shall soon persuade both him and all his brothers unto reason.
Enter the mayor and 2 aldermen. So, Master Mayor, these gates must not be shut but in the night or in the time of war. What, fear not, man, but yield me up the keys. Takes his keys. For Edward will defend the town and thee and all those friends that deign to follow me. March, enter Montgomery with drums and soldiers.
This is Sir John Montgomery, our trusty friend, unless I be deceived.
Welcome, Sir John, but why come you in arms?
To help King Edward in his time of storm, as every loyal subject ought to do.
Thanks, good Montgomery. But we now forget our title to the crown and only claim our dukedom till God please to send the rest.
Then fare you well, for I will hence again. I came to serve a king, and not a duke. Drummer, strike up, and let us march away.
The drum begins to march. Nay, nay, stay, Sir John, a while, and we'll debate, but by what safe means the crown may be recovered.
What talk you of debating? In few words, if you'll not here proclaim yourself our king, I'll leave you to your fortune and be gone, to keep them back that come to succor you. Why shall we fight if you pretend no title? Why, brother, wherefore stand you on nice points?
When we grow stronger, then we'll make our claim. Till then, 'tis wisdom to conceal our meaning.
Away with scrupulous wit. Now arms must rule.
And fearless minds climb soonest unto crowns. Brother, we will proclaim you out of hand. The bruit thereof will bring you many friends.
Then be it as you will, for 'tis my right, and Henry but usurps the diadem.
Aye, now my sovereign speaketh like himself, and now will I be Edward's champion.
Sound trumpet, Edward shall be here proclaimed. Come, fellow soldiers, make thou proclamation.
Flourish, sound.
And whosoe'er gainsays King Edward's right, by this I challenge him to single fight.
Throws down his gun.
Edward
Long
the
live Edward the Fourth! Thanks, brave Montgomery, and thanks unto you all. If fortune serve me, I'll requite this kindness. Now for this night let's harbor here in York, and when the morning sun shall raise his car above the border of this horizon, we'll forward toward Warwick and his mates, for well I wot that Henry is no soldier. Ah, froward Clarence, how evil it beseems thee to flatter Henry and forsake thy brother? Yet as we may, we'll meet both thee and Warwick. Come on, brave soldiers, doubt not of the day, and that one scoutin', doubt not of large pay. Exeunt. Flourish. Enter the king, the other king, Warwick, Montague, Clarence, Oxford, and Somerset.
What counsel, lords? Edward from Belgia, with hasty Germans and blunt Hollanders, hath passed in safety through the narrow seas, and with his troops doth march amain to London, and many giddy people flock to him.
Let's levy men and beat him back again. A little fire is quickly trodden out, which being suffered rivers cannot quench.
In Warwickshire I have true-hearted friends, not mutinous in peace, yet bold in war. Those will I muster up, and thou, son Clarence, shalt stir up in Suffolk, Norfolk, and in Kent the knights and gentlemen to come with thee. Thou, brother Montague, in Buckingham, Northampton, and in Leicestershire, shall find men well inclined to hear what thou commandest. And thou, brave Oxford, wondrous well beloved, in Oxfordshire shall muster up thy friends, my sovereign, with the loving citizens like to his land, island, I guess, girt in with the ocean, or modest Diane, circled with her nymphs, shall rest in London till we come to him. Fair lords, take leave and stand not to reply. Farewell, my sovereign.
Farewell, my Hector and my Troy's true hope. In sign of truth, I kiss your highness' hand. Well-minded Clarence, be thou fortunate.
Comfort, my lord, and so I take my leave.
And thus I seal my truth and bid adieu.
Sweet Oxford and my loving Montague, and all at once more a happy farewell.
Farewell, sweet lords. Let's meet at Coventry.
Exeunt.
Here at the palace will I rest awhile. Cousin of Exeter, what thinks your lordship? Methinks the power that Edward hath in field should not be able to encounter mine.
The doubt is that he will seduce the rest.
That's not my fear. My meed hath got me fame. I have not stopped mine ears to their demands, nor posted off their suits with slow delays. My pity hath been balm to heal their wounds. My mildness hath allayed their swelling griefs, my mercy dried their water-flowing tears. I have not been desirous of their wealth, nor much oppressed them with great subsidies, nor forward of revenge, though they much erred. Then why should they love Edward more than me? No, Exeter, these graces challenge grace, and when the lion fawns upon the lamb will never cease to follow him.
Shout, Lancaster, Lancaster.
Watch out, soldiers.
Enter Edward with his soldiers. Seize on the shamefaced Henry, bear him hence, and once again proclaim us King of England. You are the fount that makes small brooks to flow. Now stops thy spring, my sea shall suck them dry, and swell so much the higher by their ebb. Hence with him to the Tower, let him not speak. Exit with King Henry. And lords, toward Coventry bend we our course, where peremptory Warwick now remains. The sun shines hot, and if we use delay, cold biting winter mars our hoped-for hay.
Away betimes before his forces join, and take the great-grown traitor unawares. Brave warriors, march amain towards Coventry.
Exeunt, enter Warwick, the mayor of Coventry, 2 messengers and others upon the walls.
Where is the post that came from valiant Oxford?
By
Oh.
this sentence, more marching hither forward.
What? May I continue? Where is the post that came from valiant Oxford? How far hence is thy lord, mine honest fellow?
By this sentence, more marching hitherfore.
How far off is our brother Montague? Where is the post that came from Montague?
By this a Daintree with a puissant troop.
Enter Somerville.
Say, Somerville, what says my loving son? And by thy guess, how nigh is Clarence now?
At Southam I did leave him with his foes' forces, and I expect him here some 2 hours hence.
And Clarence is at hand. I hear his drum.
It is not his, my lord. Here Southam lies. The drum your honor hears marcheth from Warwick.
Who should that be? Belike unlooked for friends?
They are at hand, and you shall quickly know. March, flourish, enter Edward, Richard, and soldiers. Go, trumpet, to the walls, and sound a parle.
See how the surly Warwick mans the wall.
Oh, unbid spite, is sportful Edward come? Where slept our scouts, or how are they seduced that we could hear no news of his repair?
Now, Warwick, wilt thou ope the city gates, speak gentle words, and humbly bend thy knee? Call Edward king, and at his hands beg mercy, and he shall pardon thee these outrages?
Nay, rather, wilt thou draw thy forces hence, confess who set thee up and pluck thee down? Call Warwick patron, and be penitent, and thou shalt still remain the Duke of York.
I thought at least he would have said the king, or did he make the jest against his will?
Is not a dukedom, sir, a goodly gift?
Ay, by my faith, for a poor earl to give. I'll do thee service for so good a gift.
Was I that gave the kingdom to thy brother.
Why then 'tis mine, if but by Warwick's gift.
Thou art no Atlas for so great a weight. And weakling, Warwick takes his gift again, and Henry is my king, Warwick his subject.
Ah, but Warwick's king is Edward's prisoner, and gallant Warwick, do but answer this: what is the body when the head is off?
Alas, that Warwick had no more forecast, but whiles he thought to steal the single 10, the king was slyly fingered from the deck. You left poor Henry at the bishop's palace, and 10 to 1 you'll meet him in the Tower.
'Tis even so, yet you are Warwick still.
Come, Warwick, take the time, kneel down, kneel down. Nay, when? Strike now, or else the iron cools.
I had rather chop his hand off at a blow, and with the other fling it at thy face, than bear so low a sail to strike to thee.
Sail how thou canst, have wind and tide thy friend. This hand, fast wound about my coal-black hair, shall, whilst thy head is warm and you cut off, write in the dust this sentence with thy blood: wind-changing Warwick now can change no more. Enter Oxford with drums and colours.
Oh, cheerful colors, see where Oxford comes.
Oxford, Oxford for Lancaster!
The gates are open, let us enter too.
So other foes may set upon our backs, stand we in good array, for they no doubt will issue out again and bid us battle. If not, the city being but of small defence will quickly rouse the traitors in the same.
Oh, welcome, Oxford, for we want thy help.
Enter Montague with drum and colours.
Montague! Montague for Lancaster!
Thou and thy brother both shall buy this treason, even with the dearest blood your bodies bear.
The harder match, the greater victory. My mind presageth happy gain and conquest. Enter Somerset with drums and colours. Somerset, Somerset for Lancaster.
Who of thy name, both Dukes of Somerset, hath sold their lives unto the house of York, and thou shalt be the third, if this sword hold.
Enter Clarence with drum and colours.
And lo, where George of Clarence sweeps along, a force enough to bid his brother battle, with whom in upright zeal to right prevails more than the nature of a brother's love. Come, Clarence, come, thou wilt, if Warwick call.
Father of Warwick, know you what this means? Look here, I throw my infamy at thee. I will not ruinate my father's house who gave his blood to lime the stones together and set up Leinster. Why trowest thou, Warwick, that Clarence is so harsh, so blunt and natural to bend the fatal instruments of war against his brother and his lawful king? Perhaps thou wilt object my holy oath. To keep that oath were more impiety than Jephthah when he sacrificed his daughter. I am so sorry for my trespass made that to deserve well at my brother's hands, I here proclaim myself thy mortal foe. With resolution, wheresoe'er I meet thee, as I will meet thee if thou stir abroad, to plague thee for thy foul misleading me. And so, proud-hearted Warwick, I defy thee, and to my brother turn my blushing cheeks. Pardon me, Edward, I will make amends. And Richard, do not frown upon my faults, for I will henceforth be no more unconstant.
Now, welcome more, and 10 times more beloved, than if thou never hadst deserved our hate.
Welcome, good Clarence. This is brother-like.
Oh, passing traitor, perjured and unjust.
What, Warwick? Wilt thou leave the town and fight? Or shall we beat the stones about thine ears?
Alas, I am not cooped here for defense. I will away towards Barnet presently, and bid thee battle Edward if thou darest.
Yes, Warwick, Edward dares, and leads the way. Lords to the field, St. George and victory. Exeunt. March, Warwick and his company follows. Alarums, excursions, enter Edward, bringing forth Warwick wounded. So, lie thou there, die thou, and die our fear. For Warwick was a bug that feared us all. Now, Montague, sit fast, I seek for thee, that Warwick's bones may keep thine company. Exit.
Ah, who is nigh? Come to me, friend or foe, and tell me who is victor, York or Warwick? Why ask I that? My mangled body shows my blood, my want of strength, my sick heart shows that I must yield my body to the earth, and by my fall, the conquest to my foe. Thus yields the cedar to the axe's edge, whose arms gave shelter to the princely eagle, under whose shade the ramping lion slept, whose branch top o'erpeered Jove's spreading tree, and kept low shrubs from winter's powerful wind. These eyes that now are dimmed with death's black veil have been as piercing as the midday sun to search the secret treasons of the world. The wrinkles in my brows, now filled with blood, were lightened off to kingly sepulchres. For who lived king but I could dig his grave? And who durst smile when Warwick bent his brow? Lo, now my glory smeared in dust and blood, my parks, my walks, my manners that I had, even now forsake me. And of all my lands, nothing left me but my body's length. By what is pomp, rule, reign, but death and dust? And live we how we can, yet die we must.
Enter Oxford and Somerset. Ah, Warwick, Warwick, wert thou as we are, we might recover all our loss again. The Queen from France hath brought a puissant power. Even now we heard the news. Ah, couldst thou fly?
Ah, then, why then would I not fly? Ah, Montague, if thou be there, sweet brother, take my hand, and with thy lips keep in my soul a while. Thou lovest me not, for, brother, if thou didst, thy tears would wash this cold congealed blood that glues my lips, and will not let me speak. Come quickly, Montague, or I am dead.
Ah, Warwick, Montague hath breathed his last, and to the last gasp cried out for Warwick, and said, Commend me to my valiant brother. And more he would have said, and more he spoke, which sounded like a cannon in a vault, that ought not be distinguished. But at last I might hear, delivered with a groan, Oh, farewell, Warwick.
Sweet rest his soul. Fly, lords, and save yourselves, for Warwick bids you all farewell, to meet in heaven.
Away, away to meet the Queen's great power. Here they bear away his body. Exeunt. Flourish. Enter King Edward in triumph with Richard Clarence and the rest. Thus far our fortune keeps an upward course, and we are graced with wreaths of victory. But in the midst of this bright shining day I spy a black, suspicious, threatening cloud that will encounter with our glorious son ere he attain his easeful western bed. I mean, my lords, those powers that the Queen hath raised in Gallia have arrived our coast, and as we hear, march on to fight with us.
A little gale will soon disperse that cloud and blow it to the source from whence it came. Thy very beams will dry those vapors up, for every cloud engenders not a storm.
The Queen is valued 30,000 strong, and Somerset with Oxford fled to her. If she have time to breathe, be well assured her faction will be as full as strong as ours.
We are advertised by our loving friends that they do hold their course towards Tewkesbury. We, having now the best at Barnet Field, will thither straight, for willingness rids away. And as we march, our strength will be augmented in every county as we go along. Strike up the drum, cry courage, and away. Flourish, march, enter the Queen, young Edward, Somerset, Oxford, and soldiers.
Great lords, wise men ne'er sit and wail their loss, but cheerily seek how to redress their harms. What though the mast be now blown overboard, the cable broke, the holding anchor lost, and half our sailors swallowed in the flood? Yet lives our pilot still. Is meet that he should leave the helm, and like a fearful lad, with tearful eyes add water to the sea, and give more strength to that which hath too much, whiles in his moan the ship splits on the rock, which industry and courage might have saved. Oh, what a shame! What a fault were this! Say Warwick was our anchor. What of that? And Montague our topmast. What of him? Our slaughtered friends, the tackles. What of these? Why is not Oxford here, another anchor, and Somerset another goodly mast? The friends of France are shrouds and tacklings? And though unskillful, why not Ned and I for once allowed the skillful pilot's charge? We will not from the helm to sit and weep, but keep our course, though the rough winds say no, from shelves and rocks that threaten us with wrack. As good to chide the waves as speak them fair. And what is Edward but a ruthless sea, and Clarence but a quicksand of deceit, and Richard but a raged fatal rock? All these the enemies of our poor bark. Say you can swim. Alas, but 'tis a while. Tread on the sand, while you will quickly sink. Bestride the rock, the tide will wash you off, or else you famish. That's a threefold death. This speak I, lords, to let you understand. If case some one of you would fly from us, that there's no hope for mercy with the brothers more than with ruthless waves and with sands and rocks. Why courage then? What cannot be avoided? Or childish weakness to lament or fear?
Methinks a woman of this valiant spirit should, if a coward heard her speak these words, infuse his breast with magnanimity and make him naked, foil a man at arms. I speak not this as doubting any here, for did I but suspect a fearful man, he should have leave to go away betimes, least in our need he might infect another, and make him of like spirit to himself. If any such be here, as God forbid, let him depart, therefore we need his help. Women and children of such high courage, and warriors faint, why, 'twere perpetual shame. O brave young prince, thy famous grandfather doth live again in thee. Long mayest thou live to bear his image and renew his glories. And he that will not fight for such a hope, go home to bed, and like the owl by day arise and be mocked and wondered at.
Thanks, gentle Somerset. Sweet Oxford, thanks.
And
And
take
take his thanks, and yet that yet hath nothing else.
enter a
Hey,
messenger.
lords, for Edward is at hand, ready to fight, therefore be resolute.
I thought no less. It is his policy to haste thus fast, to find us unprovided.
But he is deceived. We are in readiness.
This cheers my heart to see your forwardness.
Here, pitch our battle. Hence we will not budge. Flourish, enter, and march. Enter Edward, Richard, Clarence, and soldiers. Brave followers, yonder stands the thorny wood, which by the heavens' assistance and your strength must by the roots be hewed up yet ere night. I need not add more fuel to your fire, for well I watch ye blaze to burn them out. Give signal to the fight, and to it, lords.
Lords, knights, and gentlemen, what I should say, my tears gainsay. For every word I speak, you see, I drink the water of my eye. Therefore, no more but this. Henry, your sovereign, is prisoner to the foe, his state usurped, his realm a slaughterhouse, his subjects slain, his statues cancelled, and his treasure spent. And yonder is the wolf that makes this spoil. You fight in justice, then in God's name, lords, be valiant, and give signal to the fight.
Alarum, retreat, excursions, exeunt, flourish, enter Edward, Richard, Queen, Clarence, Oxford, Somerset. Now here a period of tumultuous broils. Away with Oxford, to Haynes Castle straight. For Somerset, off with his guilty head. Go, bear them hence. I will not hear them speak. For my part, I'll not trouble thee with words.
Nor I, but stoop with patience to my fortune.
So part we sadly in this troublous world, to meet with joy in sweet Jerusalem.
This proclamation made, that who finds Edward shall have a high reward, and he is his life.
It is, and lo, where youthful Edward comes.
Enter the prince. Bring forth the gallant. Let us hear him speak. What, can so young a thorn begin to prick? Edward, what satisfaction canst thou make for bearing arms, for stirring up my subjects, and all the trouble that has turned me to? Speak like a subject, proud ambitious York. Suppose that I am now my father's mouth. Resign thy chair, and where I stand kneel thou, whilst I propose the selfsame words to thee, which, traitor, thou wouldst have me answer to.
Ah, that thy father had been so resolved.
That you might still have worn the petticoat, and ne'er have stolen the breech from Lancaster.
Let Aesop fable in a winter's night, his currish riddles sort not with this place.
By heaven, brat, I'll plague ye for that word.
Aye, thou wast born to be a plague to men.
For God's sake, take away this captive scold.
Nay, take away this scolding crookback rather. Peace, wilful boy, or I will charm your tongue.
Untutored lad, thou art too malapert.
I know my duty, and you all are undutiful. Lascivious Edward, and thou perjured George, and thou misshapen Dick. I tell ye all, I am your better, traitors as ye are, and thou usurpst my father's right and might. Take that, the likeness of this railer here, stabbed him.
Sprawlest thou? Take that to end thy agony.
Richard stabs him.
And theirs for twitting me with perjury.
Oh,
Clarence
kill me
stabs him.
too.
Marry and shall.
Hold, Richard, hold, for we have done too much.
Why should she live to fill the world with words?
What, doth she swoon use means for her recovery?
Clarence, excuse me to the king, my brother. I'll hence to London on a serious matter, ere ye come there. Be sure to hear some news.
What?
The tower, the tower.
Oh, Ned, sweet Ned, speak to thy mother, boy. Canst thou not speak? Oh, traitors, murderers, they that stabbed Caesar shed no blood at all, did not offend, nor were thy worthy blame. If this foul deed were by, to equal it, he was a man, this in respect a child, and men ne'er spend their fury on a child. What's worse than murderer that I may name it? No. My heart will burst, and if I speak, and I will speak, that so my heart may burst. Butchers and villains, bloody cannibals, how sweet a plant have you untimely cropped. You have no children, butchers, if you had. The thought of them would have stirred up remorse. But if you ever chance to have a child, look in his youth to have him so cut off. As deathmen you have rid this sweet young prince.
Away with her! Go, bear her hence perforce.
Nay, never bear me hence, dispatch me here. Here sheath thy sword, I'll pardon thee my death. What, wilt thou not? Then Clarence, do it thou.
By heaven, I will not do thee so much ease.
Good Clarence, do. Sweet Clarence, do thou it.
Didst thou not hear me swear I would not do it?
Aye, but thou usest to forswear thyself. 'Twas sin before, but now 'tis charity. What will not? Where's that devil's butcher, Richard? Hard-favored Richard, where art thou? Thou art not here. Murder is thy alms deed. Petitioners for blood, thou ne'er put back.
Away, I say, I charge ye, bear her hence.
So come to you and yours, as to this prince.
Where's Richard gone?
To London all in post, and as I guess to make a bloody supper in the tower.
He's sudden if a thing comes in his head. Now march we thence, discharge the common sort with pay and thanks, and let's away to London, and see our gentle queen how well she fares. By this, I hope, she hath a son for me. Exit, enter Henry VI and Richard with the lieutenant on the walls.
Day, my lord. What did you book so hard?
Ay, my good lord. My lord, I should say rather, 'tis sin to flatter, good was little better. Good Gloucester and good devil were alike, and both preposterous, therefore not good lord.
Sirrah, leave us to ourselves, we must confer.
So flies the reckless shepherd from the wolf. So first the harmless sheep doth yield his fleece, and next his throat unto the butcher's knife. What scene of death hath Roscius now to act?
Suspicion always haunts the guilty mind. The thief doth fear each bush and officer.
The bird that hath been limed in a bush with trembling wings misdoubteth every bush. And I, the hapless male to one sweet bird, have now the fatal object in my eye where my poor young was limed, was caught and killed.
Why, what a peevish fool was that of Crete that taught his son the office of a fowl. And yet, for all his wings, the fool was drowned.
Ay, Daedalus, my poor boy Icarus, thy father Minos, that denied our course, the sun that seared the wings of my sweet boy, thy brother Edward, and thyself the sea, whose envious gulf did swallow up his life. Ah, kill me with thy weapon, not with words. My breast can better brook thy dagger's point than can my ears that tragic history. But wherefore dost thou come? Is it for my life?
Think'st thou I am an executioner?
A persecutor, I am sure thou art. If murdering innocence be executing, why then thou art an executioner.
Thy son I killed for his presumption.
Hadst thou been killed when first thou didst presume, thou hadst not lived to kill a son of mine. And thus I prophesy that many a thousand which now mistrust no parcel of my fear, and many an old man's sigh, and many a widow's, and many an orphan's water-standing eye, men for their sons, wives for their husbands, orphans for their parents' timeless death shall rue the hour that ever thou wast born. The owl shrieked at thy birth, an evil sign. The night crow cried, a boding luckless time. Dogs howled in hideous tempest, shook down trees. The raven rooked her on the chimney's top, and chattering pies and dismal discord sung. Thy mother felt more than a mother's pain, and yet brought forth less than a mother's hope. To wit, an indigested and deformed lump, not like the fruit of such a goodly tree. Teeth hadst thou in thy head when thou wast born, to signify thou camest to bite the world. And if the rest be true, which I have heard, thou camest.
I'll hear no more. Die, prophet, in thy speech.
Stabs him.
For this, amongst the rest, was I ordained.
Aye, and for much more slaughter after this. O God, forgive my sins and pardon thee.
What? Will the aspiring blood of Lancaster sink in the ground? I thought it would have mounted. See how my sword weeps for the poor king's death. Oh, may such purple tears be always shed from those that wish the downfall of our house. If any spark of life be yet remaining, down, down to hell, and say I sent thee thither. I that have neither pity, love, nor fear. Indeed, 'tis true that Henry told me of. For I have often heard my mother say, I came into the world with my legs forward. Had I not reason, think ye, to make haste, and seek their ruin that usurped our right? The midwife wondered, and the women cried, Oh, Jesus, bless us! He is born with teeth. And so I was, which plainly signified that I should snarl, and bite, and play the dog. Then, since the heavens have shaped my body so, that hell may crook my mind to answer it. I have no brother. I am like no brother. And this word love, which greybeards call divine, be resident in men like one another, and not in me. I am myself alone. Clarence, beware. Thou keep'st me from the light. But I will sort a pitchy day for thee, for I will buzz abroad such prophecies that Edward shall be fearful of his life, and then to purge his fear, I'll be thy death. King Henry and the prince, his son, are gone. Clarence, thy turn is next, and then the rest, counting myself but bad, till I be best. I'll throw thy body in another room, and triumph, Henry, in thy day of doom.
Exit. Flourish. Enter King, Queen, Clarence, Richard, Hastings, nurse, and attendants. Once more we sit in England's royal throne, repurchased with the blood of enemies. What valiant foemen, like to autumn's corn, have we mowed down in tops of all their pride? 3 Dukes of Somerset, threefold renown, for hardy and undoubted champions. 2 Cliffords as the father and the son, and 2 Northumberlands. 2 braver men ne'er spurred their courses at the trumpet's sound. With them the 2 brave bears, Warwick and Montague, that in their chains fettered the kingly lion, and made the forest tremble when they roared. Thus have we swept suspicion from our seat, and made our footstool of security. Come hither, Bess, and let me kiss my boy, young Ned, for thee, thine uncles, and myself have in our armors watched the winter's night, went all aloof in summer's scalding heat, that thou mightst repossess the crown in peace, and of our labors thou shalt reap the gain.
I'll blast his harvest if your head were laid, for yet I am not looked on in the world. This shoulder was ordained so thick to heave, and heave it shall some weight, or break my back. Work thou the way, and that shalt execute.
Clarence and Gloucester, love my lovely queen, and kiss your princely nephew brothers both.
The duty that I owe unto your majesty I seal upon the lips of this sweet babe.
Thanks, noble Clarence, worthy brother, thanks.
And that I love the tree from whence it sprang, witness the loving kiss I give the fruit. To say the truth, so Judas kissed his master, and cried all hail, when as he meant all harm.
Now am I seated as my soul delights, having my country's peace and brothers' loves.
What will your grace have done with Margaret? Reynard, her father, the king of France, hath pawned the Sicils and Jerusalem, and hither have they sent it for her ransom.
Away with her, and waft her hence to France. And now what rests but that we spend the time with stately triumphs, mirthful comic shows, such as befits the pleasure of the court. Sound drums and trumpets. Farewell, sour annoy, for here, I hope, begins our lasting joy. Exeunt omnes. Fini. Well, that's the 3rd part of Henry VI, the last Henry VI play, so ends on a real happy note. I'm sure everything will work out so well for you, or at least for some of them. Anyways, if you want to know more, we continue with Richard III next week in person at the 53rd Street Library, and we will also have a reading of The Merry Wives of Windsor at the Bloomingdale Library tomorrow. I don't know what. Well, so anyways, thank you all. Thank you so much. We're having another event tomorrow. Is our we're at the Jefferson Market, and we're going to do a masked reading at 2:00 of The Tempest. But at 1:30, we're just going to have a sort of Shakespeare free-for-all that we're going to try out, doing sort of a hybrid event of being at the Jefferson Market, but also setting it up on Zoom. So if people can't get down there and want to participate on Zoom, we'll have that tomorrow, starting at 1:30. So thank you all so much. This is it's a long play. There's a lot happens here, and even in the 5th act, it's like so many backs and forths. But thank you, and we're still recording right now. If there's anything you want to share about, any thoughts about the play or the history. But it is fun history, and I think there's a lot of stuff. If you look at the Henry VI plays, and you look at Game of Thrones, there's a lot of things that inspired that, and all of the Wars of the Roses, which is a lot of fun to do, and so I thank you all. and we will just end it here. And as I say, we have our Facebook page. If you're interested in readings, we do them on YouTube and in person. So,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Yeah, wait. It says I have a book here that says that Edward, his infant son, they kill the son, and it appears he agrees upon killing the son. Why is that?
What I mean, you're talking about well, actually, that's a spoiler for next week's thing. That Edward. I mean, it's also there's so many Edwards here because there's Edward, the son of Henry and Margaret, who Edward kills at Tewkesbury. You know, well, I mean, because Edward a lot of times says, "Oh yeah, well let's be nice to people," and then he kills them anyways. So because he talked nasty to them.
It says King Edward celebrates the Yorkist triumph by having Richard and Clarence kiss his infant son. Richard, while outwardly loving a new prince, makes clear his intention of destroying him. Right.
Yeah, well, that's what he says in those last lines. Like, yeah, with Judas's kiss, as Judas kissed, he's all hail and all harm. But yeah, that's foreshadowing of the next play.
Right. Okay. I just something just went unclear because all of a sudden I thought Edward was doing that, but it's not. It's Richard. Right.
Yeah.
These people, who's going to kill who? Right.
Right. Right. Yeah.
If it's not storming tomorrow, I'll see you. If it's storming, I'll do at home. You know,
Okay.
it
All
might
right.
it might be bad weather. We'll see. If not.